Are we live?
Is it working?
Are we doing it live?
Are we actually alive?
I don't know yet.
Oh my god!
I don't
it looks
see
like
it.
we might be live.
Uh,
People literally thought we might be dead,
they thought we got Silent Hilled and/or cryptided.
which would have made sense because we drove through a lot of foggy, spooky, weird places.
Well, it was a mix of fog and smoke. So I don't know. I don't know how much fog we actually saw outside of Glacier, because Glacier was very foggy and cloudy, but everything else was wildfire smoke.
All
we
right,
sound
everybody.
good.
We watch anime.
We watch anime.
We watch
I'm
anime?
Oh my
B.
god, who was that?
I'm B. This is Bird, and
I'm Bird.
We are also at Quinn's house. Say hi, Quinn.
Hi, Quinn. Or Quinn again.
Quinn
again.
again.
Quinn
again. Quinn again.
Priscilla, say something.
Quinn is going to mostly participate in the opening segment of this episode with us, where we talk about the birds and the bees. But she has not watched any of the anime, so you will not be in the anime discussion. But she is playing Mega Man 4 in the background while we do this, so you may hear some frustrated interjections of of complaints about difficult bits in Mega Man. Anyway.
So Trixie, have you played Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon?
I have not. I know you've been playing that for yesterday.
Is the best. It's Gundam.
We have to explain why we are delayed.
Shit.
We didn't do a show last week.
Why didn't we do a show last week?
Much like all of the anime that's airing right now,
we were delayed.
We were delayed because life is hard, and we had, as you may know, the last show we did, we were in Seattle, having I think just gone to a Brony convention, and then gotten blackout drunk and broken our windshield and.
I hurt myself.
We still don't
a bunch.
actually know how the windshield got broken.
Yeah.
It looks like something fell on it, but it's hard to say. We then finished the job we had been on. Bird got really sick around the time of the last podcast. So for a few days, we were just kind of sitting around the hotel room, like, being sick and miserable. We had actually gotten ahead on watching the anime, ironically, but we finished our job that Friday, and then pretty much we're just like, all right, we have to go back across the country now. We were really, like, we could have taken more work. We were anticipating possibly working for another, like, month and a half or so, but we were just so fucking drained of this job and not wanting to do it and really wanting to, like, get a place and go back to Kansas City and hang out with Quinn again. So
Quinn.
yeah, we were just like, let's get the fuck out of Washington. Also, Washington State is a very expensive place to exist, so it was like, let's get back to the South where everything's cheap.
And we got to Mount Rainier at like 2 p.m. Or no, it must have been like 3, and it was completely packed, and it was just not fun. I really wanted to stay there.
Yeah, the Friday. We had plans for how we were going to try to do this show last weekend, because we knew we were going to be camping the whole way across the country. So we were like, we're going to be out of service range at a lot of these campgrounds. It's going to be really difficult to do this stream, but we can maybe find a place where we can do it or whatever. But our original plan was, because when you're in Washington State, there's this ridiculously massive volcano called Mount Rainier that you can see from literally anywhere in the state if you are at the right elevation and the sky is not cloudy. But
it's also got a glacier on it.
It has a glacier on it. There's a spot called Paradise that is on, like, the mountain right next to it that goes up to like 7,000 feet, so you can kind of Rainier itself is 14,000 feet, so you're like halfway up the mountain just looking at, like, the big snowy glacier cap of this volcano. It's an insanely beautiful place. Unfortunately, we showed up under circumstances not to enjoy it. Bird was not having a good time.
Because we got there, and it had been like a 2-hour drive to get there. And one of those hours was just getting into the park and to the campground.
We finished work early at like 2 p.m. thinking, like, we're going to have time to set up, watch all the anime we have to, and then figure out how we're doing the podcast tomorrow. Instead, we drove 2 hours to Mount Rainier, found out that there's only like 3 campgrounds in the whole park, and they're all really small.
And some of the loops are closed on some of them, so they're
Yeah.
not fully functioning, even though it's the peak of summer when tourism is high at its height at Rainier. You'd think... I get it, right?
We
National
didn't
parks,
do enough
the
research,
point of them...
I'll say, but...
I did enough research to know that probably was going to happen.
Well,
Um,
fair enough. We got there and we couldn't camp. We were desperately, trolling the mountain looking for
Is
a
it that much of a
campground.
hot take to want more campgrounds in national parks? I get it, it's
Depends on the
nature.
park.
You want to keep it very basic nature,
Yeah.
but some of these parks are thousands and thousands of acres and they
Yeah.
have 2 campgrounds.
Rainier could use some more camping space, I think, but Yellowstone's pretty well accounted for. We ended up there.
Yeah, that is true.
So we were supposed to camp at Mount Rainier. We couldn't do it. We saw the top of the mountain, and I was pretty satisfied. So I was.
It was really cool. I
let's
mean, I was
figure out-
pissed off, so it wasn't as
Yeah.
fun, but
So we're continuing down the road from Rainier into eastern Washington, which is a whole lot of nothing, but there are a lot of campgrounds.
well, and so we're driving through the national forest that Rainier is in, and we must have passed 8 campgrounds, mostly empty, but they're all cash only, and there's not a gas station anywhere nearby.
Yeah.
Um,
But when we finally get to a gas station, you pull out cash, but the next one we get to
completely
is...
full. The next one after that, completely
Yeah.
full. The next one after that, completely full. The next one after that, completely
Well,
full.
and there was one that's $10, but you had pulled out a 20.
Yeah.
and didn't have any way to break it to 10. So it was probably 9:00, 9:30 by the time we found ourselves at a place called
Sand Hollow campground,
Yes.
or recreation area. It's right outside of a small town in eastern Washington called Vantage on the Columbia River.
It's right smack in the middle of Washington State, and
Yeah.
it's a desert.
Well, and on top of that, it was... So we got there at night. The stars were beautiful. It was crazy. We set up everything. I think we just, had sandwiches, right? We just did sandwiches for dinner because I was, not
Probably.
going to cook. So we got there. We set everything up. We went to bed. And, we both spent some time looking at the stars. But then we get up and, camping, you kind of wake up throughout the night and just
Yeah.
kind of assess your situations to make sure you're not being killed
you
by
a lot
an
more
animal.
than me, I think.
Yeah.
But
But so I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's really foggy out there. And so I go back to sleep. And then you wake me up and you're like, look at the fog. And I look at it and I'm like, it doesn't look like fog.
that is smoke.
Yeah. So
Turns out
the
the world was on fire
Yeah.
that day.
throughout most of the time we were there, the air quality was above 200. Bad is above 50. And so it was full of smoke. Everything smelled like campfire. I mean, and we smoke
Right.
stuff, but unwillingly having smoke in your lungs at all times is one of the worst feelings
And it just
ever.
kept getting worse
Yeah.
throughout the day. So, it turns out, I guess just east of Vancouver in the mountains of Canada, where it's right above the deserts of Washington. This is what's so interesting about the geography in this area is that, the Cascade Mountains, which go down the west coast from Canada, is all massive forests, huge trees, tons of rain. But because those mountains are so big, they soak up all the rain before it can get to the desert that's in between the Cascades and the Rockies, which start in Montana, Idaho. So most of Washington State is a desert covered in mountains. And it's pretty
It's cool.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. It's nowhere near as empty as the desert of Oregon is, but at the same time, apparently the forest that's just north of that is just in the right position to burn every single year and unleash a massive amount of smoke down.
When we
across
talked about this on social
eastern
media,
Washington.
Anyone from Eastern Washington or living in Eastern Washington was like, oh yeah, that's our 5th season, wildfire season. It just happens.
Yeah, it's every year pretty much around this time. So, and apparently, they say it's getting worse. So, yeah, we were in the midst of the wildfires, and we woke up Saturday morning, paralyzed.
All right, camping. We've been working for 4 months, and it's time to camp.
Yeah.
And I'd been kind of out of it. I didn't remember everything of camping. I'm glad we got to do it, but I was very
We were not prepared. We hadn't
Yeah.
spent, we're used to camping enough that it's not scary to show up unprepared. We know how to compensate for the problems, but like we literally went directly from work to Mount Rainier and then got denied for like 4 hours until we found a campsite, maybe even 6 hours. It was a long day of looking for a place to camp. And then the next morning, we were just fucking done. So that's how we ended up missing our show. But we were planning to just do it a couple days later.
I'd like to mention the real reason we missed the show is because we were getting ready to do the show. I was making dinner, and I ran out of propane in the middle of making dinner, so I couldn't make the food I was going to make, and that just made me incredibly depressed.
That makes sense. Not being able to eat is definitely something that makes it hard to do a show. But yeah, we were planning, hoping maybe we could do it in like the next couple days, but Sand Hollow was the last place we camped that ended up having reception. And like we would have been, wherever we were going to do this, it would have been off of phone data, like tethered to the laptop. So it had to be somewhere that we had phone data. But the next place we went after Sand Hollow was to Glacier National Park, which is a place that Bird has talked about more than anything else since we've been together for like 3 years. It is
the most beautiful place I've been to.
And you had gone there, like you went to see your dad there.
I met my dad and
probably a year before we met.
Brother there
or so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so
when I was living in Idaho.
I'd been hearing about it so much, but Glacier National Park is in northwestern Montana. Northwestern Montana was on fire. We're driving through.
It wasn't as much of a problem for the park of Glacier itself.
No, it wasn't that bad there. But like, as we're driving through North Montana,
the air quality literally got up to 500, which is as high as it goes.
And like we were just driving through smoke, like through like unseeable smoke clouds, and we could see.
Yeah, there was a certain point we were just driving by a hill that was totally on fire, and I'm kind of used to that because I'm from Southern California, but I've never been like. The hill across the street from my high school caught on fire one day when I was at school, and my band teacher's reaction was, "Okay, get back inside. They're gonna take care of it." And I was like, "What?" But it was just so much closer to the fire because it's like we're driving on the road, and the mountain that's on fire is right next to you.
Yeah, we can just see fires happening, and we're like, "Oh,
there's like shit tons of like police officers and like government employees just kind of standing, looking at it.
Yeah,
like.
Trying to
figure
out
a fire.
What they're gonna do about it. So yeah, we got to Glacier, which is a beautiful place. It was a nice campsite, but it is out of service range. It felt like we were, like, in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Like this is a place where we
were on
really
Lake
need
McDonald,
to worry about if an animal is going to come to your campsite and fuck with you.
Well, and Yellowstone is like that as well. Pretty much any national park.
I just think that the animals at Yellowstone seemed more familiar with humans, and like Yellowstone is just so populated compared to Glacier, where like there's again only really a few campgrounds, and it's not like nearly as popular of a park, whereas like Yellowstone is the most civilized.
Wait, are you saying Glacier's
place.
not as popular of a park
as Yellowstone? Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's true actually.
Really?
I mean, it wasn't as populated when we went there, but Glacier is by far one of the most popular parks in the United States. The reason it wasn't busy when we were there is because they were having clouds descend on it, so you couldn't see jack shit.
That's true. Well, so that's, we did this epic drive up the mountain, the drive to the sun. But when we got to the top, we were just in a cloud. And they were like, yeah, it's going to be like this today. But
it was funny. I went to ask for a map, and the people in front of me talking to the ranger were like, so these clouds, are they going to, like, disappear? And the ranger just looks with, like, a, oh, bless your heart face at them and goes, no, we find that when the clouds get in, they kind of just stay here.
Yeah.
They're here for the day.
So we went from Glacier to Yellowstone, which is in northwestern Wyoming.
So, Glacier has 3 million, and Yellowstone has 3.29 million. So they're not that far off.
And Yellowstone was an amazing place. It is the yellowest place I've ever seen.
And stony.
It is very stony, very yellow. It's got tons of geysers and hot pools and, bubbling earth and such. Tons of places to hike. Lots of fucking bison. We saw hundreds of bison.
Oh, yeah.
Got interrupted by bison crossing the road,
That was cute. We saw some moose or something, too.
Yeah, some either small moose or big deer. Not sure. But, so again, Yellowstone was out of service range for the most part. The only places that had service were like all the little towns that they have where you can buy shit. And we explored all of the gift shops and a bunch of hiking trails, saw a bunch of geysers. Again, I have footage of most of this that eventually I'll be able to edit and put on the Picnic Adventure channel. Once we've like got a place and can sit down and take time to like reassess all the things we've done. But yeah, Yellowstone was pretty fun, and we stayed there for 3 nights. Like, we got there late at night and left early in the morning, but we spent 2 whole days exploring Yellowstone. And then from there, we were originally going to continue camping, but then we realized, oh my God, we're going to miss another show if we camp out even one more night. Like, we will not have time to even do it before the weekend is over if we camp one more night. So we were 13 hours from Kansas City, so we just did it, you know? Me and Bird's superpower is the ability to cross the country in the shortest time span imaginable. So, yeah, we found ourselves back here.
It was a trip too, because like the morning that we got into Kansas City, we were in the middle of Wyoming. It was 56 degrees and one of the worst rainstorms I'd ever been in.
Yeah. And
And then we get to Kansas City and it's like 108 degrees and sunny.
yeah,
Whew.
it was quite the temperature change across one day. I remember like I was wearing like 3 layers that morning, and by the afternoon I was wearing a tank top and shorts. But yeah, it's nice to be back in warm weather. I like the way that Kansas City is hot, even when it's like 108 degrees. The sun is not piercing here. On the West Coast, the sun is like, it like feels like it's stabbing you. Like it's just a different feeling, and I don't feel like that anywhere else in the country except the West Coast. But even when the temperature is lower, like it can still feel like really grating. So, yeah, we're back in Kansas City, where we're going to be house hunting over this coming week, and hopefully, putting down roots so that our podcast doesn't have to be late every goddamn week. Later and gayer somehow every single time.
Yeah. This is the latest and gayest I think we've
By
ever been.
far the latest and gayest we've ever been. Hopefully the latest and gayest we will ever be. I mean, maybe not the gayest we'll ever be, but hopefully the latest we'll ever be. The sky's the limit on how gay. Yeah, thank you, Amy. Gayer is fine, though. We should probably shout out our patrons who give us at least $10 a month on Patreon. Patreon.com/we-watch... No. Patreon.com/goldenwitchfire. Our backed.by is we-watch-anime. You can support us on either one. But here's all the people who give us $10 a month. True Fox 1, Abby K, Ice Bear, Dylan, Devon Hall,
Last Esses,
M2,
Hidden Music Island,
Adathmi Badesu, Susu2,
Zero Soon Game.
And yeah, that's all of them. Thank you. Also, we finally got our 3rd bonus episode done. It was quite late. And if we don't want to be late on the next one, we have to do it in the next 3 or 4 days.
Woohoo!
But I'm excited for the next one.
Oh boy, I
because-
can't wait for you to explain this one to me.
So I messed up the poll on Patreon. Patreon's weird. It doesn't let you change how a poll is structured once you've posted it. I meant to make it multiple choice, but from now on, basically I have already picked the pool of every show that could be a bonus episode in the next 2 years. I'm taking suggestions if people want to add stuff in. There's certain stuff that if it doesn't get any votes, I'm just going to take it out, not even worry about it. But there are certain shows that I know people want to see. So I'm going to tell you what shows are in the running and how they performed in this first poll. We had, with 21% of the vote, was Heike Monogatari, which I have not seen any of. But it is from the director of K-On! It's one of my favorites, and I've heard it's very good. 16% went to Sunny Boy, which initially I thought was going to win.
Yeah, I wish it did.
It has been sort of a front runner, and it was at first winning. There were no votes for Violet Evergarden or Bakemonogatari, so they probably won't be in the next poll. There were 11% votes for Odd Taxi, which I've heard is very good, and I haven't seen any of. 0 votes for Ping Pong, which makes me sad because I love that show. But the actual winner of this poll, with 26% of the vote, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
What do you patrons think you're doing, ruing my bits?
Yeah, how is
I was
Bird
supposed to keep this a long-running bit.
How is
now
Bird
I have to
supposed
pretend.
ask me what is that show about if he already knows?
I guess I could just ask you to explain a different show to me every time.
We got a 5% vote for Barakamon, 5% for Madoka Magica, 5% for Girls Last Tour, 5% for Death Parade, and 5% for Serial Experiments Lane.
No votes for
everything-
Girls in Panzer?
No,
Boring.
wait, no, I thought there was, because somebody told me they were going to vote for Girls in Panzer. I remember somebody specifically saying they were going to do... Wait, is that even on this list? Yeah, it is. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, see, True Fox said, cool to see Girl in Panzer on there. There's so... Oh, but I don't think it'll win, but I'll put my vote for... Yeah, he said he would vote for it, so I don't know. I don't know what happened. Did you rescind your vote? Can they do that? I don't know that that's a thing you're capable of doing on this this platform. Anyway, yeah, so the next bonus episode is going to be Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. The third episode was on Keep Your Hands Off the Eizouken. We both enjoyed that show quite a bit. The live stream is split into two parts. If you're somebody who was there for the live video and then it went down and then we recorded like the last 30 minutes or so as a separate video, I think. But yeah, you get all those links by being a patron for $5 or more per month. And also, we will be launching very soon. I just didn't have time to put this together. Our manga podcast. We're going to launch a tier on Patreon, at least by the time this video is edited, for sure. I have like 4 weeks of podcast editing to catch up on soon. But, you know, I think I can do that actually in the near future. But yeah, the manga, we read manga. Bird and I have both read the first volumes of Vagabond, Berserk, Vinland Saga, Hoseki no Kuni, and
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7, Steel Ball Run.
So we're going to talk about all 5 of those in the first episode of that podcast. It will be immediately available to you as soon as it is out.
Unrelated.
If you're on that tier, which doesn't exist yet at the time of the recording.
We might cover these in the future, I guess, but I read all of Jujutsu Kaisen that's out, and I've read some of the beginning of Soul Eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jujutsu Kaisen stuff will be relevant when that show finally returns from its hiatus.
Soon.
Apparently Zom 100
4
has
days.
missed like several weeks now. So, you know, we're not doing as... We haven't been as late and gay as the currently airing anime have been. Kind of shocking. But I think the reasons for our lateness and gayness are similar. I kind of have to pee. Bird, if there's anything else you want to say before we end up actually talking about...
All right,
this
so
anime.
Armored Core, right? I was excited about Elden Ring. I was only really excited about it because Beatrice had been hyping it up for me pretty much the entire time we've been dating. I've been hearing about Armored Core since it was announced, probably. And I watched Vati Vidya's video on it.
It's a really good video.
Very good video. Of like the history, as well as he released one yesterday or the day before. Actually, he released 2. One was Beginner Guide, and the other was Taking No Damage in Armored Core, which, having played a couple of missions, seems impossible. But so, I've gotten a little bit into it. The last thing I unlocked were the tank legs and the quad legs. I really, really like all the robot mechanics. I can't say any of the weapons specifically speak out to me. I don't think there's a specific one I like that much. There's like a couple pistols that are neat. The shotgun's cool.
Dude, I love the shotgun.
It's just really hard to... with some guys, like with the shields and stuff, or like I'm on a level with like a bunch of invisible guys right now. It's really hard to get them with a close range weapon.
I don't like it. I
No.
hope they don't come back.
I hope so too, but it is a From Software game, and so I'm thinking they're probably going to come back.
I mean, maybe if there's a better way to deal with them, but like just flying back and forth is
I
not fun.
haven't
to
really
me.
been able to figure out how to do it. I had Googled it, but their answer is pretty much just like, use energy weapons, and I'm using energy weapons. The sword does okay. So the mission itself isn't the worst until you get to the end part, which is so throughout the mission, there's 2 different kinds of robots that are assaulting you. They're all invisible, but there's one that's like a sniper, and then there's one that has like a weird energy whip. And so At the last stage, you get chased around by one guy with an energy whip and a shield you've never seen before and don't know how to deal with, and 4 of the snipers. The snipers are all up in the air also, so it's very hard to find them. Like, you have a scan that will identify them, but you have to scan them and shoot them in such quick succession that... Oh, but I like it a lot more than Elden Ring, I think. It's really fun to be a robot. Yeah.
Whoa. Are you not like a super fan of the Soul series?
No, before I met Beatrice, I don't think I'd played anything except for Bloodborne, and I didn't own it. It was just, we did like a house exchange when I was 17.
Elden Ring still your preference amongst the Souls games? Or do you
I would want to play Bloodborne again and Sekiro first.
Oh, I
I
didn't
mean,
realize
you've
you'd
only
played Bloodborne.
Bird has literally only played like 5 hours of Bloodborne, beaten Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, and that's it.
And not in that order.
I have Bloodborne here.
I'll play Bloodborne. That's gender affirming here. Affirming.
Bloodborne.
But yeah, other than that, Armored Core is really, really fun. I also want to get Baldur's Gate, but I don't know. It's not robots.
I've never seen anyone talk about the gameplay of Baldur's Gate. It's always just you can have sex.
You can fuck.
Fuck.
Well, I don't know what it means, but everyone who I've seen talk about it say like, oh, it's just D&D. And with that, I'm like, well, is it like World of Warcraft D&D port where you have a bunch of things that are roll chance?
What's the fucking combat?
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's just a turn-based like JRPG type thing.
Oh, I probably would not like that then.
I think so. I might be wrong. I know nothing about Baldur's Gate.
Well, you also don't know anything about these anime we're going to talk about.
Wow, I should have shut the fuck up.
That's a hilarious
Joke's on
transition.
you. I'm Bird's
Actually,
gone, so I
Bird
have to
went
carry
to the
this
bathroom, so
podcast.
yeah, now it's all Quinn all the time.
This is the Quincast. Do you like Dark Souls?
I love Dark Souls. It's like the best ever. I got into it through my friends who were playing Demon Souls when it came out.
How many times did you play Elden Ring, or did you? Was
I
it
have
mostly
not beat
Bird?
Elden Ring. It's mostly Bird.
Where did you get stuck?
It's not even so much that I got stuck because I didn't I just kind of I overburdened myself with trying to make a video series about Elden Ring while I was playing it.
Oh.
I was trying to journalize my playthrough.
Did you do any of that?
I made 2 50-minute videos.
Holy shit.
Just covering the first hour and a half of the game.
Analyzing it?
Yeah.
I want to go watch that. Is it up?
They are still up, but there's only 2 episodes, and then I had recorded basically I was trying to record a bit and then write about what I had just recorded, and then record a bit and then write about it. But that was making it take way too long to play the game that I wanted to play, and Bird was just blasting through it,
Were you following the road, or were you just wandering?
I was doing all kinds of stuff, just kind of mostly wandering around, because on my first playthrough, I started off basically collecting all of the random souls that are laying around in the continent, and just seeing what's around, and then starting up challenges.
It's called enjoying a video game, Quinn. Have you ever heard of it?
I hate.
But I was basically the reason I was doing this project is I saw it as every person's experience with this game is going to be so different because it's so open-ended that it would be worth deep diving what one potential playthrough looks like. You know?
It just shocked me because I didn't follow the road my entire first playthrough, and then my second playthrough I tried going slower, and I realized how intentional and laid out the gameplay or the game design is. If you follow the road, it walks you through everything.
Yeah.
This is the same conversation I had with my brother about Breath of the Wild, because
really?
He was very insistent that if you follow the road, the game is so well made that it's perfect. And I was like, yeah, but I spent the whole game climbing mountains, and
that's
bombing in from above.
With Tears of the Kingdom, if that is also the case, and I'm sure it is, that doesn't matter because I just started fucking around without a paraglider and then got stuck for hours. And did not want to lose any progress I'd made, so I just didn't. But with Elden Ring, kind of in my philosophy of spoiling everything, I just, there's the big dragon. I learned about the big dragon. You go kill the big dragon, and then you get a bunch of souls.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there's an easy mode dragon.
Yeah, Grail. Like, it's a big dragon.
What
It's
the
just
fuck?
laying on the ground. It, like, screams every now and then, and it's surrounded by, like, 6 other
No,
dragons.
I know of it. I
Yeah.
just didn't know you could kill that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
and
you
it
do...
drops a shit ton of...
What the hell?
Like, when you come out
So
of...
I have not participated in Elden Ring culture at all. I've not seen many Elden Ring videos, so I don't know what the strats or anything on it.
Okay, so basically what you do, you come out of the crypt, right? And
Yeah.
there's White Mask Vari there. You go directly to the left,
You go to
down
that
off of that
chest.
cliff. Yeah, and then
you
there's
go
a...
the warp, do the chest warp, and then you.
Oh,
just
not
run
that.
there.
No. To the
No?
left, like, onto the beach, there's, like, a
Oh.
gold pickled fowl foot, the thing that gives
Oh.
you more souls. And then you go to the
Oh.
chest. You get a bleed weapon if you don't have it already, because that's how you really kill
Okay.
the dragon, because it stacks. It's like a percentage damage. It's not anything like that. And then right before the dragon dies, you pop the pickled fowl foot, and then you get, like, I don't know, 160,000 souls or something. And so that's just, like, 30 levels you can knock out right there. Oh, and then right up the road from that person there's a bunch of, like, little dudes who, like, hit like a truck, but you can kill them pretty easily. So, and they give, like, 1,000 souls each.
Enough Elden Ring.
You're right. Explain the
There
melancholy
is
of Haruhi
way too much
Suzumi's.
Elden Ring. There is enough Elden Ring for sure.
But no, I made it to, what's her name? The Raya Lucaria.
Renala.
Renala.
You didn't beat her, did you?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so over leveled for her in the academy.
Yeah.
She's a very cool looking boss.
She
but
is.
Agreed.
I killed her in one hit, so.
My favorite's probably Malekith, just for his design.
Yeah, same. Well, he's just Berserk. He's just guts. He's just Mr. Berserk.
You know what else is cool looking? Is this character.
It wasn't a sword,
this
it was more
character-
like a hunk of destined death.
Whoa, is that the quote in Berserk?
Oh yeah, it's not a sword, it's like a hunk of metal.
So and then in Elden Ring they literally made it Destined Death. Holy shit.
Well, there's also there is the gut sword in Elden Ring, and there's another huge sword made up of smaller swords, which I
I'm-
think is a Game of Thrones
I'm
reference.
sorry, Trixie. I apologize.
No, it's okay. You stalled long enough that we got a super chat before
Hell
we
yeah.
talk about it. So with 15 shekel from MNNM. I'm sorry, but I guess someone had to ask, are you going to watch Haruhi chronologically or broadcast order? Ooh.
I don't know what that means.
So, alright. Haruhi was originally broadcast in a non-sequential order. I think Bird would strongly prefer the chronological version of Haruhi. Bird really hates when shows like string him along and keep a mystery going, and he will just go read all the spoilers anyways. So like,
Heavenly Delusion.
if you watch Haruhi in chronological order, it's basically like 5 episodes of just straight exposition on what's going on, and then a bunch of fucking around for like a season and a half before the movie where things get serious again. If you watch the anime in the broadcast order, it's like random fucking around episodes interspersed amongst the serious ones, and then like what would be episode like 5 or 6 chronologically is the end of the season because it's the most dramatic one. So it gives the season like a better dramatic arc if you watch it chronologically, but it doesn't make as much sense and is not as easy to follow, and I think you will just prefer the version that tells you what the fuck's going on up front.
Yeah, I'd prefer that. I think we may have even seen that episode. The first episode of it?
It's yes, we've seen the first episode in the broadcast order. Actually, I
Oh.
think we've seen the first 2 episodes.
No, what it was, we watched the first episode of the broadcast order, I was fucking confused and mad, and you were like,
Yeah.
let's watch this in the other way, and then we
Yeah.
watched that first
That
episode
makes sense.
too.
That makes sense. Well, because that episode is also just episode 2 of the broadcast. So if we watched the first 2 of broadcast, that would also make sense.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll probably watch it chronologically, especially because when they made the second season, the way that they released it is that they just rebroadcast the first season in chronological order, but with the new episodes spliced in where they take place.
Huh.
So they aired it as if it was a 26-episode show. Now, in Season 2, 8 of those episodes are the Endless 8. You know about Endless 8 because of Kexi's video, I think.
I don't know that I remember the content of that video, but I recall... The Endless 8, they're just the same episode, but designed differently,
just
right?
animated differently, but all the same things happen.
I can guarantee I'm going to hate that.
We will probably watch that at 4.5 times speed or something like that. There are ways to deal with these things. All right, that's enough preamble. Let's
We
talk
the
about
people,
fucking Pokemon.
in order to form a more perfect union.
I know we
Was that enough preamble?
Stop. Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Yeah.
Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare.
Oh, this is way too much of this
Yeah,
bit.
you're doing way too much. Like, I was doing Schoolhouse Rock version, and you were just, like, taking it to a whole other level.
We're going to be doing these episodes in an odd order because we watched them on a phone and took all the screen caps on a phone.
I have 300 screen caps of anime
I
right
left
now
it to
on my
Bird
phone.
to do the screen capping for the most part because I was like, I know you'll take more. Because I'm always going back through the episodes, and so I'm like frantically trying to do it as fast as possible. This time,
Beatrice was like, you don't do enough work on this show.
Since we were watching the episodes on the phone, we were taking the screen caps as we went, and so there's way more than normal, which hopefully will mean it's easier to follow what's going on in the story, but we'll find out. So yeah, we're starting with... There's been 2 episodes of Pokemon and 2 episodes of Mushoku Tensei. We're going to talk about the first 2 of those towards the start of this podcast, and then the other 2 episodes much deeper at the end, because that's how we watched them. Anyways, this episode of Pokemon, I'm trying to remember what it was about.
Well, so you see, Liko and Roy come up to Dot, and they go, hey, we're gonna make a video channel. Can you teach us how to be a video people? This is like Dot, or rather Gurumin, is taking these 2 under her wing to kind of to teach them the ropes, if you will. Kind of like a Hotel Hell with Gordon Ramsay, but for streamers. And Dot is a lot nicer than Gordon Ramsay is. But yeah. So, sorry, it's been like a week since I saw this, so I kind of forgotten the plot of this episode because it's pretty inconsequential.
Most of it is about the fact that Captain Pikachu can fly.
Yes.
Oh, I remember this whole episode now.
Yeah, me too.
The opening
Yeah.
bit of the episode is inconsequential.
But the rest of it is very consequential.
Actually, so this is like this episode is special in that the directing and the storyboarding. So most of this is a backstory. It's going to teach us what happened with Captain Pikachu. How did he become Captain Pikachu?
How did Freed become Freed?
Yeah, how did they form the Rising Volteckers? And why can Captain Pikachu seemingly fly, as exhibited in the last episode? But when we go into the backstory, I guess you'll see it when we show you the screen caps here.
Can Cap fly? Oh, also, that go back. It was really cute to me that the ex-Nurse Joy is just looking at Murdoch and his dog on the computer for some reason.
It seems to have their stats.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just cute,
I guess
though.
it's their profile. Yeah, maybe she's like looking over their medical records or whatever.
He really does have a fork and a knife in his hair.
Yeah, yes.
We discovered
Murdoch,
this in the most recent episode.
We somehow hadn't noticed that his hair has a fork and knife in it. But
I mean, and that instantly propelled him to my favorite character. He was already pretty close, but I mean, Freed doesn't have cool hair like that.
No, that's true. And also, Freed
I'm
would
glad-
not have formed the Rising Volteckers without having met
Captain
Pikachu. That's the foreshadowing.
I really like that, even though... Oh, yeah. So
What is this?
When we saw this, I literally screamed at like 10 o'clock at night in a tent, what the fuckle? Yeah, this was very confusing. I don't know that I'd be comfortable drinking juice out of a shuckle. I'm mostly just
Especially
like...
because it looks like it's pissing out.
It does look like it's pissing the juice out. But anyway, so...
They're drinking
juice out of shuckle.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. I didn't know Shuckles had a juice.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, too. Did someone pour juice in the Shuckle, or is Shuckle making the juice? What is the biology of Shuckle? Also, what is Shuckle called in Japanese? I don't know.
I don't remember. I love this, by the way. So they've got Rotom with the
streamer light.
Yeah, the streamer
that's
ring light
Dot.
and microphone hookup. Oh yeah, Dot's like participating by way of this Rotom, and they can communicate through it. But I just love that it has the ring light.
It's really adorable. I only took this screen cap to show that off.
All right, so here's where visual style suddenly shifts. The rest of this episode for the backstory segment is in like this very long letterboxed format. And just like the storyboarding, the animation, everything looks like one of the movies. Like it feels just way weightier and more dramatic than anything that's happened in the show so far. Oh
right, so Freed catches what he thinks is a fish, and it turns out to be Slowbro or Slowpoke.
That's Slowbro.
Slowbro, okay. Slowpoke's the first one.
Yeah.
Then.
So Freed and the old man. I guess the old man used to just run a fishing boat. Dot's granddad.
Is it Dot's granddad?
Yeah.
That's not Freed's dad,
right?
I think it's Freed's dad.
No,
or
I'm pretty sure it's Dot's granddad.
What the hell is that guy's name?
But anyway, the old man he apparently used to run a fishing boat, and Freed worked on it, and I guess was not particularly great at fishing. Although he did catch a Slowbro. He looks dope with the shades though. He's got big time Quattro Vagina vibes.
But anyway, so he catches this Slowbro, and the Slowbro immediately jumps back into the ocean, which I thought was very, very cute.
Like, look at these shots. This is like a shot from the Tatami Galaxy or something. Like, why is this a shot in a Pokemon anime? It looks great. So, yeah, Freed, he's meeting up with, this is Liko's mom, who is just friends with him.
It's his teacher. She taught him.
Right, and basically he's in like a slump as a trainer, and she thinks that he needs like more motivation or more drive, like to just try to do something badass. And so she introduces him.
Ludlow. His name's Ludlow. Sorry.
The old guy.
Yeah. I doesn't see if Freed's mentor. That's all it says.
Huh. I had been under the impression he was Dot's granddad. Later, Ludlow
his niece.
Okay. So Dot is the niece.
Okay. Wait, I thought Murdoch was. Yeah, no. Murdoch is Dot's uncle.
Okay. Not the old man's not related to her though.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyways, yeah. Liko's mom introduced Freed to this Pikachu that has just been like training its ass off in this field, trying to get as strong as possible.
To fly, specifically, right? It's trying to fly for some reason. I forget why, but there is a reason.
He's like, I already know all there is to know about Pikachu. Pikachu's not impressive to me. Oh, this is a really funny segment where there's all this cool animation of Pikachu doing stuff in short glimpses, but it keeps cutting back.
So every time I tried to get a screenshot of it, I just got a Charizard reaction shot.
There's literally like 6 different shots of Charizard just going like, whoa, this Pikachu's doing crazy stuff. Here's another one. Not what we were trying to capture. There's Pikachu
beating the shit out of Freed.
Yeah, get it. He's been completely discombobulated.
Yo,
Pikachu's,
that's a sassy Pikachu.
Yeah.
Pikachu's doing squats with its tail.
Yo, that's cute.
Yeah, eventually it gets a captain's
More
hat.
Charizard reaction shots.
I'm gonna go buy beer.
Okay.
Electric shocks are the one thing I can't counter. Could you also get some kind of snack? Like a chip or a donut?
Somebody text me an exact thing to get.
Okay, will do. Bird, you got the text.
Yeah, I figured somebody was me. What do you want, Beatrice?
Some kind of donut or chip.
Do you want those terrible Hostess like powder donuts?
I like those.
She does like those, actually. That's a good option.
I like those in concept, and then I start eating them, and I'm like, these are not as good as they were in my head.
That's
no,
true.
they're not.
That's true. So basically, Captain Pikachu creates like a tornado vortex in order to rise through.
So he runs around in a circle a whole bunch, and then I think the way he does it is he bounces with his tail, which is why he does the squats with his tail.
Yeah.
And then he jumps up into the vortex, and so it's not flying. It is very much Buzz Lightyear falling with style.
Yeah. But
right. The only reason we have this screen cap is because
she's so
Freed is
adorable.
talking to Liko's mom, and Liko's mom mentions Liko, and then it's just like the most adorable Liko ever.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with her little hair thing?
It's cute. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that when Pikachu finally pulls off this move, they call it the Rising Voltecker, or just Voltecker, and they are the Rising Volteckers. But like Pikachu's flight ability is Voltecking.
Yeah,
Hence
that is the
name.
move. That's what they call it. It's Volt Tackle also, because in the
Oh,
English
yeah.
they are the Rising Volt Tacklers.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate that it sounds that way when you use the English move names. But yeah, here they are. Pikachu's flying. Charizard with Freedon is flying behind. This shot is almost exactly like the ending of the first episode of Gurren Lagann, when they escape from their underground home and they're like flying up in the air and they just see the whole landscape and it's all teal and orange.
It's pretty. It's a good shot. This is a really good episode of Pokemon.
You showed us a Horizon we'd never seen
Oh
before.
yeah, they did say that.
The show is Pokemon Horizons.
Mhm, yeah.
Ah.
What horizons can the Pokemon reach? Where can they go? What can they do?
Celebrities. What do they know?
Celebrities. Do they know things? Or what do they know? Do they know
and this
things?
is
Let's
also
find out.
how the mechanic girl, I think she was like just a mechanic who worked at the shipyard.
Something like that. Yeah, she's some kind of engineer, and Freed basically comes up and goes, "Hey, can you turn my mentor's fishing boat into an airship?" And she
she's
goes,
like,
"That's ridiculous. You're gonna pay me, right? You're gonna pay me a lot of money, right?" And then basically he says, "I don't have any money," and she goes, "Well, I'm gonna have to come with you then."
Yep, and she builds the ship somehow. She just does, and you're like, that ship is way more impressive than that boat. Like, if she could have just done this at any time, I'm not sure why she was waiting for an excuse, but
she needed to be asked, you know.
I guess so.
Do you know that alligators survive during the winter when the lakes freeze over by sticking their nose out of the ice?
That's true.
Yeah.
Wait, can you say that again?
Alligators survive frozen lakes by leaving their nose out to breathe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Whoa.
And then they just sit there frozen
I
all
guess.
winter, like hibernating.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's all.
Do you think Hogator does that?
Maybe.
Oh shit.
That
Whoa.
was it for Pokemon.
Oh my god, a guidance counselor.
Revolutionary Girl Utena. This episode was interesting. It's about Juri, the oldest member of the student council, the orange-haired girl who does fencing real good. And she's really interested in Utena. Actually, this screen cap, I feel like, is from a little bit later or something. Oh, yeah, no, this is just her shooing a teacher away, I think.
The teacher's just giving her shit.
Yeah, she's... Basically, the first half of this episode, it's sort of mysteriously portraying this relationship that Juri had in the past that she clearly hasn't
It was a
gotten
girl,
over.
like she's
Yeah.
gay, right? Yeah.
It's a girl she's in love with, and the episode's kind of trying to keep it mysterious. Whether, like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of obvious, but it's hard for me to know how you would feel if you were watching this for the first time. Like, I don't know if people would watch this and be surprised at the end when they reveal it was the girl she was in love with and not the guy.
I had thought that from the beginning. It's pretty obvious.
It seems like that's what they're trying to say.
I think the only person that thinks she likes the guy is the other girl.
Yeah. It's just the way they reveal it at the end of the episode. Like, maybe if you hadn't picked up on it, then it was like, it was the girl that she likes. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess you'd have to really... I'm just trying to think of it from the perspective of, like, if you're watching this show not with the expectation that the characters could be gay, then, like, this might come as a surprise, you know? But if you are expecting that they can be gay, it's not surprising at all as a twist. Nonetheless, anyway, we're introduced to Juri as, like, kicking everybody's ass in fencing, just looking like a fucking badass. This shot in particular, where she's, like, airing out her shirt, looking like a tough queen.
Tough queen.
She's really cool.
She is really cool.
So, especially because she can bully around all the teachers and stuff. Like, she's considered such a, like, integral member of the student council and so important as a decision maker, I guess, in the school that she could just tell teachers to fuck off and, like, do as she says. So, we've got Utena standing in the hall. she's being lectured at for having brought Choo-Choo onto campus by the woman who's always on her ass.
And Utena didn't even bring Choo-Choo to school on purpose.
Yeah, it was an
Choo-Choo
accident.
snuck into her lunch and ate all of her lunch.
So in a moment where Utena's kind of like looking out the window, avoiding this conflict, Juri starts talking to her through another window and like just trying to initiate a conversation, but Utena's like, I'm busy trying to deal with this teacher. And so Juri, like this guy, okay, this is where that screen cap came from. Yeah, I just had one out of order for some reason. She says, like this guy comes up trying to talk to her and like invite her out to lunch or whatever, and she's like, "There's someone else."
Right.
Who's
He's like
looking
hitting
for
on
you."
her, isn't he?
Yeah, it's feels like he's hitting on her, or at the very least, he's trying to like cozy up to her. And she's like, "Someone else is looking for you," and basically shoos him off with that woman, the woman who's bothering Utena, because that woman wants to talk to him because he's like vice principal or something, and she's like trying to address a concern. He clearly does not want to deal with her at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, Juri just kind of shoos the two of them off so she can talk to Utena. And all through this episode, the imagery is very clearly trying to portray them as foils, as like two characters who have a lot of similarities in that like they're both sort of like brusque and masculine and hard asses who like get their own way, and like, you know, Juri seems to view Utena as like a potential equal, as somebody who might be like her, but the show always frames them opposing one another. Like it won't show them in the same shot. It'll like cut between them. It'll put them in, just like frame them apart from one another in all these different ways to make it clear like there's something not connecting. Somebody pointed out, I don't know if we screen capped it, but there's a statue later in the episode that's like in between the two of them. So yeah, there's lots of like cool symbolism to like show how the two of them are similar in certain ways, but opposite in like their approach and kind of what they're aiming for and what it all means to them to be the way that they are. And that's going to come to a head as the episode goes on. So, yeah, he
Oh, right. So
shoot
Utena
off.
like runs away or something from the teacher, and then they talk more, and she goes something. What's Warren Chair's name?
Juri.
Juri basically goes, "Hey, we should meet later," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they do, but
Well,
I
she's
don't.
also asking her how she feels about fencing, and Utena's just like, I don't even like fighting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like sword fighting. I just happen to be like good at it, you know.
I just happen to pull a sword out of a woman's bosom every so often.
So yeah, they're like, Juri very clearly wants the Rose Bride purely for power. She wants the power to change the world, to change fate. And specifically, she wants to change the fact that the girl she likes does not like her back.
There's a lot of girls out there. Just like there's a lot of women.
Yuri needs to move on. Her relationship is not. I mean, I don't know what she sees in this girl. This girl's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
The girl that Juri likes sucks. You don't see that much of her in this episode, but even what little you do, she seems like like a person you should just move on from as quickly as possible. But yeah, like Utena has no real interest in any sort of power grab or changing the world or whatever. So yeah, there's a scene where Anthe comes up to offer a rose to Juri, like probably interpreting that interaction between her and Utena as like them being allies, because Utena seems happy about it. She's
when
like,
Utena's
glad
trying
you
to make
understand.
friends with everyone, she's not.
Right.
She's not trying to be openly antagonistic to people.
But Juri just slaps the living shit out of Anthe in rage. And
Juri is trying to be openly antagonistic to people.
yes,
Pretty much this whole episode.
She wants enemies. She wants. Maybe that's why she likes such a fucking bitch of a person, is because she just wants. She's only happy when it rains.
I'm only happy when it rains.
This is a great student council scene. This is the first one that's so absurd that it's hilarious. Where, Toga is just knife throwing at Mickey.
Oh yeah, and Mickey just keeps like turning his head perfectly.
It's implied like if he didn't move, he would have been hit with the knife. But then Toga like completely encircles him in a shape, like in the pose he's doing. But then it cuts to a different shot and cuts back, and he's in a different pose, but still encircled by all the knives. It's just choice visual comedy. It's very good, very fun shit. They're just kind of talking about Juri, and Miki is figuring out that Juri must be in love with someone. Like they're basically piecing together her motivations during the scene while he's being knife ensconced.
I do wish they'd explain why he was doing that.
The student council just does things, They're just up to stuff.
Yeah, you had mentioned in the first episode of this that they're always just doing something different.
It's always some other thing that gets progressively weirder as the show goes on.
Do they ever start turning into animals?
One character will turn into an animal in one episode of this
Utena?
show. No.
Oh. Because a car is basically
she turns
an
into...
animal.
That's in the movie, though. So...
I know I brought it up a lot. What the hell is the symbolism there?
The car? Freedom.
Okay. Why does Utena turn into the car?
Because she is the vehicle of freedom.
Oh. Well, isn't she the one that has the power?
Utena is the vehicle of Anthe's freedom.
Okay. What is Anthe the vehicle of?
I don't know how I can get into that without talking about spoilers. In any case, Juri, this is a great image that in itself summarizes the entire relationship. Juri was friends with... She had, the guy was just her kendo rival, or, fencing rival, I guess, who she... thought was just cool and was friends with. And then this girl starts watching them and hanging out with them, and she falls in love with the guy. She thinks that Juri is in love with this guy, and so she thinks that she has majorly betrayed her and that Juri must hate her for this. Not true. Juri's just in love with her and wants to have this relationship back. She wants it to be how it was before, but it won't be that way because this girl thinks that their romance has...
Sorry, I pressed a button when I was moving the remote.
Been this massive betrayal. So yeah, this is the whole issue pretty much. Utena and Juri... Wait, I think I have a screen cap from before. This is another place where I had to go back. And...
Choo Choo is sad.
So yeah, they end up meeting by... Juri and Utena meet by a fountain after school. It's interesting in this scene that Juri is in pajamas and looks sort of unguarded.
It's like a nightgown and pajamas or a scarf or something. I don't know. It's strange, but basically they tell each other their stories. Utena kind of comes to the conclusion wow, she just like me for real, and then Juri's I'm not just like you for real.
Yeah, well,
I'm the opposite of you for real.
Yeah, the basically. Utena, tells her about the prince that she was so impressed with that she wanted to be like her. And Yuri's really offended with the idea that everything Utena's doing is just to copy some guy. She's like...
She's I'm trying to remake the world to get that puss. Yeah, you're just doing it to be a guy you met once?
Yeah, I think Yuri's I have I have an identity, I have a goal, and you are just playing pretend, basically. So you don't deserve the ring. Fuck you. She tries to drown her or something. I think she's trying to push her into the water. So then I think Utena kicks her in the stomach. There's this great shot of her looking kind of like a wounded animal, guarded, thought we were gonna be friends, but then you scratched me and now I'm hissing type pose from Utena. But she very much cares about her ring. What was this bit?
This is oh god, it's the going outside is such a pain thing. They don't like. I think so. Hang on, go back one.
It said going on vacation.
That's it. Yeah, going on trips is such a pain, and so basically they're talking about all the stuff you get to do on vacation and how it sucks, and then ultimately the conclusion is you're just mad you're not going on vacation, aren't you?
Right. Yes. It's sour grapes is the theme of this particular shadow play.
They should at least have
A panda or something.
Oh, right, the zoo. They're talking about the zoo, I think. Hey, it's a duel. Boy, let me tell you, if you thought I was going to get tired of hearing the same song and see the same animation of Utena climbing up some stairs, you'd be correct.
Yeah, well, you know, we usually skip over it anyways, unless the fever kicks in and you can't help it. I've heard the song, watched the sequence hundreds of times in my life at this point, so I don't feel like I need to see it again. But yeah, so Yuri is basically kicking Utena's ass for most of this match, but it ends up being that she digs her own grave, because she's so ferociously attacking that she launches Utena's sword up
in the air. This is the funniest way. And then the sword comes back down and gets her flower. And Jury's like, wait, that can't count. That doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
No way that counts.
Jury has Utena at her mercy, like on the ground, holding the sword at her chest. And then Utena's sword just falls through the rose. And
pour your misery down.
The main takeaway they have is one of the themes that Jury talks about is miracles. And I'm sure this is going to come up a lot more when we talk about her character later. But
I believe in miracles.
Like, well, Jury doesn't. Jury does not believe in miracles. She big time is like, you have to make your own luck or whatever. You know, you gotta do it yourself. So the fact that the sword fell down, and she's like, it can't be. Like, this can't be a miracle. And Utena's like, could it be a miracle? And my takeaway is, no, it's not a miracle, Jury. You didn't think about where the sword would fall. You knocked the sword too high into the air. You didn't look up and confirm where the sword was. You know, like, it's the blind fury with which she attacked that was ultimately her undoing. And I think that's the character takeaway. You know, nothing to do with miracles. Everything to do with creating your own problems.
I'm only happy when it rains. Swords.
So here she is, just stunned. And Anthony's like, yeah, bitch, fuck you, you dumb idiot. And I guess that's Utena.
Utena. Okay, now for the second episode of Utena, we watched this. Oh wait, Whoops.
Mobile Suit Gundam, the Witch from Mercury.
This show is starting to get confusing in a way that I'm not happy with. And I will. I haven't really spoiled much for myself about this show, but the way people talk about how this show continues, it's probably going to be fine. I'm probably going to enjoy it the whole way, but it seems like it's kind of getting to the point of like, hey, we're just going to kind of like introduce things, not really go into it, you know?
I'm waiting for. I've been told that the characters will all become like really interesting and maybe even likable. I feel like the show maybe was going for like unlikable.
The only guy I like is Shattuck.
It's a little difficult to penetrate because like the characters who are just like kind of decent or like inoffensive don't really get much screen time and don't really have much personality development. Whereas the characters that get a lot of focus are usually assholes or annoying in some way, including the main character. Because most of what I remember of this episode is her being
fucking annoying,
very annoying. And it kind of feels like the point, like you're supposed to think she's annoying, but I guess we'll get into it. I mean, this episode starts with this interaction.
I don't remember Pell, I think, or Pale, one of the two. It's Pell or Peil. This woman without the mask works for Pale. Was also working at Vanadis, which is the people that made the Gundam that we saw in the episode 0 get killed. Right. So these two people definitely know each other, and they just kind of have a little contentious conversation. And Utena, or not fucking Utena. Soletta's mom basically just finds out, there is someone else who can pilot a Gundam.
Yeah.
And it came from them.
because she figures out there's more than one potential pilot. Wow, there's a lot of characters being suspicious of one another and wondering what's going on with one another, and it makes me go, "Yep, I sure would like to know that too. Sure would make the story more compelling if I knew all these informations." Yeah, this guy, he's getting like full on.
Oh yeah, Gwell is getting expelled from his house, so he's just kind of like fucked.
I think
now.
his younger brother is now like in his position.
Yeah, and basically, the guy who's telling Gwell all of this says, "Oh, and a message from your dad. Be glad I'm paying your tuition still."
Damn. Rough. So as we saw,
woof.
The end of the last episode.
Bark.
What are you barking at?
You said rough. Oh. I was responding.
At the end of the episode, the last one, Ellen. It's
I believe her name is Ellen DeGeneres. I know the last name's kind of hard to pronounce.
Eran Ceres and Suleta are going to have a fight because Eran is pissed off that she's not actually relatable to him. He thought she was just like me for real, and it turns out that's not the case. This guy is... The first time he said anything remotely interesting is that he says to Suleta, like, since you've arrived, both Gwell and Elan haven't been themselves. It seems like you've really been shaking things up around here. So, you know, she's basically being put on notice by this guy. Yeah, they're worried about it. I don't know.
So the fight's gonna happen. There's a conversation with Ellen and the four women, or the people with Pell, you know, those ladies that we've heard about. And basically, the one who was part of Vanadis, who knows Suleta's mom, tells Ellen, "Hey, you're enhanced person number 4. You're gonna fucking die if you go into 2 more fights." And so he's like, "Well, I got 1 more, so just gotta win." We get introduced to the real Ellen Ceres. I don't know that they explained it in this episode.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I hate this guy so much. But I don't know that they explained it in this episode. I am simply going to explain it right now. I don't care if it's a spoiler. What's going on here is Ellen Ceres was handpicked to be the CEO of Pale Technologies, and as a result, they're trying to protect him from having to fight people and all that stuff. So they're just like putting enhanced people who can pilot real Gundams, who will be better at fighting, so he doesn't have to deal with any of that. He's getting trained to be the CEO. That's what's going on. I think it's an incredibly confusing story trait.
Is Elan a clone of him, or like...
Well, and that's the other thing. Later in the episode, it's implied, or I think real Ellen says to fake Ellen, you know, if you do this and you live, I'll give you your face back. So it's kind of like, okay. I know you haven't played Borderlands 2. Handsome Jack has a bunch of doppelgangers, and actually in the pre-sequel you can play as one of them. But, like, it seems like that kind of situation, and, I mean, very specifically why I bring it up is, like, the doppelganger you play as, you kind of learn his backstory, and it's like, he was just a guy named Timothy who wanted money, and to be famous, and so then he went through a bunch of terribly deforming surgeries and stuff to look like Handsome Jack, and now he looks like Handsome Jack, and people are trying to kill him. But yeah, I think he's a fun character. He was definitely my favorite to play through the pre-sequel with. I need another caffeine patch. Give me 1 second.
So, Suleta, like, I think she just wanted to know why Elan was, like, upset with her. But she is like, I have to communicate with him. And everyone's like, he doesn't want to talk to you. He's not going to come out. And so she's like, put me through the comms. And so it's not... She, like, breaks into their hangar, actually, and just, like, starts harassing everyone in there. She literally, like, over the loudspeaker of the entire place is trying to have a personal conversation with Elan. And it was at this point that he says to her, like, you are annoying. Really annoying. And I was like, I fucking agree. This is an incredibly annoying behavior. Like, she's involving everyone in her little, like... Her questioning's also not, like, very pointed or good. Like, she's not good at trying to get information. So, it's... When's your birthday? I want to give you a cake. How can you live without a birthday?
Oh, and then she starts singing "Happy Birthday" over the loudspeaker, doesn't she? Or is that in their fight? That might be in their fight.
I'm trying to remember when she does that. No, yeah, it's over the loudspeaker. She's
Yeah.
singing "Happy Birthday."
You'd think she'd remember that her dad died singing that
I
to
think
her.
yeah, she doesn't, and I think she says something to Elon to the effect of like, "Oh well, if you don't have a birthday, I'll just give you a birthday. Today's your birthday now. I'm gonna start singing Happy Birthday to you." It's just Jesus Christ. This writing is a lot. It's a lot to take in. I don't know if it's the weirdest Gundam, because like there's plenty of Gundams, especially the alt universe Gundams, where none of the pilots act like people. Gundam Wing comes to mind. None of the characters in that were relatable or at all. But that's how I'm kind of feeling with this show, where it's just like there's things to like about it. G Gundam I even think was more like, I'm not going to call it grounded. It was totally absurd. But, like, the characters were more cliche, like, more regular, like, anime characters. In this show, it's really hard for me to figure out what they're trying to do with these characters. Like, I don't get what they symbolize necessarily. The closest we get to theming is, like, you've got the people who Seleta fights tend to have been from, like, abusive situations, and they're jealous of the fact that she has, like, a positive relationship with doing something very similar to what they've all been doing. And it seems like it's just because she loves her mom so much. But that's, like, the closest we really get, and it's hard to really figure out where it's going with a lot of this stuff. People tell me it all pays off. I hope it's true.
I hope it does too.
I'm a disposable pawn created for the Gundam's sake. So yeah, Elon's just kind of emo about, his existence. They have a big fight. There's lots of bits.
All right, so she saves Ellen from his burning Gundam. They have a whole fight and everything. It's cool. It's a good fight. I don't know. Ellen just really pushes it, and I think he says at some point, guess she was wrong. I'm definitely gonna die now. And so Soletta pulls him out of the Gundam, and I think he's not dead yet, but he is dying. And by the time, this episode does just end with him being incinerated.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now. Yeah, they have this whole like. Because it seems like he's going to die during the fight, and then he doesn't, so she gets the emotional, gratification, but then immediately we as viewers learn that, like, the corporation's, well, if he can't fight, there's no point, so let's just fucking melt him down, and, then it's just kind of her, like, waiting for her date on a bench type shit. Very, Outlaw Star. Some people will know what I'm talking about. Or Macross, actually, I think, does something like this, where character like sets up a date and then they're just like waiting on a bench and they never show up. That's it for that episode. This is Steins Gate. I think.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I had to stare at it for a second to be like, what
this seems pretty mystical. I would
this?
believe this was Mushoku Tensei. Yeah, I don't know. I would eat Witch from Mercury. It was a good episode. It's just.
It's fine. I don't really like. If I hadn't looked at the screen caps, I would not have remembered what the fuck happened in that episode. Like, it's I want to like it more than I do because it's very pretty and it references shows that I like and it's Gundam, but I usually by the time the action scene is happening, like, find myself kind of phasing out because like the emotional stakes just aren't there to make me like really care about what's like who's gonna win or lose, Anyway, let's talk about. Oh fuck! I accidentally hit the end button. Hey.
Oh
I got
my
pretty
god!
close.
Beatrice is clicking wrong things.
All right, Steins Gate. This is the episode where the plot has sort of been activated, but it's not revealed yet. We're not quite in the action. But the reasons that the action is going to happen have sort of transpired.
Quinn again. Quinn again. Quinn again.
Welcome back.
Whoa, we're talking about Steins Gate?
We're talking
Yeah, we're
about
on
Steins
I
Gate.
know this
Steins Gate
video.
now.
What's
I know this video.
It is a video game. We're on episode
It is done.
7?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is that what we're on of
I
everything?
don't remember what happened in this episode.
They broke the microwave.
Oh, yes. He starts off tearing the door off the microwave.
So this is still when the show's a bit more slow, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is still
Okay.
before things have gotten really crazy.
Okay.
Priscilla, what is you doing?
This is when it's just like a bunch of deep internet nerds just hanging out, memeing
Yeah.
and shit. It's a good hangout show until it isn't.
It really is. And Bird doesn't even know really yet.
I mean, I have a sense of it based on the Discord.
Do you have a
Bird
bottle
hasn't
opener
spoiled
on?
everything?
Do I have a bottle opener? Yeah.
No, Bird said that this
wait,
was
I'll
impo-
open- No,
Don't use your teeth,
No.
please.
Oh my god.
It's so frustrating.
Makes me cringe.
That didn't happen, by the way. Bird was stripped of the beer before using the teeth.
Thank you for clarifying, yeah.
Hot.
Why is it hot?
I got squirted on by beer.
Stop. Trixie, you want?
It was
this is
Trixie's. I will
fine.
take
Bird, you
one.
want?
Yes, please.
Oh my god.
We sound like we are Steins Gate right now.
I am Steins Gate for real. There's a
Who's who?
There's a trans. Almost said slurs. I don't. Can you say slurs on YouTube?
You can say trans.
We'll avoid whatever slurs you think you're not allowed to say on this.
There's a trans girl in Steins Gate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Shrine Maiden. She's great.
Ruka.
Yeah,
Can I help you?
it's the best part of the show.
She is hot. Definitely would pick her in the VN. Hey, you
I
know,
just related to her as a human.
that too. Hey, Priscilla, we're doing a podcast over here. Could you not mess with plastic bags?
Oh, I'll put it up.
It's okay.
You want donut?
B, do you want
I
donut?
do want donut.
Donut achieved.
Oh my god, you got a big bag. Thank you. I've got a big bag of Hostess donuts here. Donuts me what I'm gonna do with it.
You
You-
have the driest, like, most mouth-filling thing.
Yeah, most of the start of this episode really is just the characters all hanging out. Like, this is the point where they finally established all of the cast. So, like, this is the first scene of just everybody's there. They're all just kind of bouncing off of each other. There's a real sense of, like, chaos and freneticism because Moeka constantly is just texting Okabe, who's
And he's not reading them.
ignoring the texts. At one point, she just starts, like, picking up the computer, the IBN, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like...
You didn't respond.
Yeah, like the text says like, if you don't respond, I'll take that as a yes. I can have it. And he reads that, and he's just like, absolutely not. So yeah, and everybody's just passing around drinks, doing science, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this stupid time machine. Why does it only work sometimes?
And so, as a test to see how it works, they send a text back with winning lottery numbers, and his name's Daru, right? The fat one.
Yeah.
Daru basically goes like, okay, so the first one's like 1 billion yen, and Okabe.
Oh yeah, he's afraid to like win too much money.
Yeah, he's like, then they'll know.
Yeah. I think he's just afraid because he doesn't know what he would do with the money.
I love how paranoid this show is. Like, it feels
really
like
good.
a bad drug trip. Like, it,
I would not want to be in Okarin's head.
he's constantly talking about this government or something.
Yeah.
The organization.
Yeah,
I
the
actually
organization.
find the tone of this show, at least for the first 9 episodes, very comforting.
It's
Because like
paranoid still, though, too.
it's paranoid, but in a relatable way, where like Okabe doesn't really believe any of it. Like he's constantly fronting this like idea that he's crazy, but it's
I guess
mostly
so.
like it's like and we've gone into
See,
it a
but
lot.
you don't
with
know that on the first watch.
You don't on the first watch.
I guess that's why I found it more paranoid. I guess it's kind of cute.
It's been really interesting going back through it because there's actually kind of moments where the characters are calling him out where like they don't think he really believes this stuff. Like Daru especially like thinks he's full of shit and just putting on an act. Mayuri knows he's full of shit and putting on an act, so that's why she's just
I
kind
thought
of
it was
ignoring
Mayushi.
it. That's the nickname.
Oh.
Mayushi is her nickname, but her name is Mayuri. But yeah, like, and Christina can't tell how delusional he is, but like, even she starts to kind of get it as she hangs out with him. I think by this episode, she's kind of settling into, like, okay, like, he's kind of full of shit. Because at the end of the last one, there's a part where he's, like, doing the phone thing, and Moeka just texts him while he's doing it, and he's like, you're not allowed to do that.
You're not supposed to text me.
But yeah, like, and I think that's the part of what makes this show so great is that I think a lot of people who are paranoid, myself being one of them, like, have kind of an in and out relationship with it of like, haha, maybe the government's tracking me, like, but what if they really are? But
just
probably
because
not,
you're
but what if they
paranoid
really are?
don't mean they're not after you.
Right, exactly. And like,
I've definitely been in a state where the paranoia is so intense that there is no question about it.
And
So,
Kansas can be pretty scary.
But the part where the show gets really intense really feels like a bad drug trip, where it's like the negative delusions are true. Oh shit. That's like the real, like, psychosis level of. And
that's why, like, this episode, my reaction to it was this whole episode specifically is about Okabe being actually not paranoid enough, because he gets too comfortable. Like, he's having fun hanging out with his friends and thinking that, like, maybe they're really uncovering this big conspiracy, but, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy, you know? And, like, he keeps thinking that and having these moments where he's like, if CERN is really, like, keeping this a secret and all these people died, like, should we really be investigating this? Like, I got all my friends involved, and, like, in those moments, he is being legitimately, seriously concerned for good reasons. Like, if you did know that that these people actually have a conspiracy, then yes, you might actually be tripping wires by, like, getting involved. If I was at this level, I would have stopped. I would have gone, nope, we've gone too far, we're shutting this down. Okabe doesn't actually believe, like, he's on enough of a level of I'm just being paranoid that, like, he ends up not being paranoid enough.
Yeah, the organization doesn't take the irony as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Could the show be about exploring different people's realities? I don't know. I don't remember what the different characters' plot lines are, but I know at least he has these delusions, and not to say the trans girl is delusional, but she has a reality that she wants people to believe, and I don't know. I don't remember what the other character arcs are.
And with Ruka specifically, she wishes that she had been born a girl so that it just wouldn't have been complicated. Like, you know, like, oh...
So she's not only happy when it rains. She's not only happy when it's complicated?
She, like, basically is like, hey, I wish that I wasn't, like, different from my gender. I wish I had just been born the other gender and everything would have been easier. And then there is a reality created in which that happens.
Oh, am I spoiling things?
Kind of, but it's not a major spoiler, because, like, frankly, most of the characters don't have that detailed of arcs. Like, especially the side characters, they kind of get, like, an episode to themselves each that just kind of, like, here's their backstory, here's the part where in the video game they would have had sex, and then we go on to another timeline, you know, and, like, do another character. But yeah, this is the first episode where they actually, other than the first one where, like, we know that somehow he must have jumped timelines because he saw Kurisu dead, and then he woke up...
The weird dream.
Yeah, he woke up in a reality where she was alive. And nobody else has any memory of that other reality existing. And in this episode, this happens again. They change the past, but in a way where no one else remembers him having said, we should, like, do this lottery thing. Only he remembers that it had even been suggested. And Ruka shows up and is like, hey, you did tell me these lottery numbers, but I entered them wrong. So they didn't win the money, but they did prove to themselves that the time travel works, that they can change the past. But it didn't change the past in a way that everybody would know about it. It just sent Okabe to another world line where this thing had happened. So we don't really understand at all why he is able to keep these memories across world lines, but that is the defining thing that makes him the main character. This girl keeps being sus as fuck and obviously from the future.
I was gonna ask. She's obviously from the future. Is Moeka also from the future? She seems pretty
I don't
sus.
think she is.
Okay, she's just interested in the computer?
Oh, just interested for no reason.
Yeah, no, of course. I can't imagine there would be any reason why, but...
I love how he's not paranoid about the one person he should be paranoid about.
Well, and he is. He just keeps letting his guard... I think because she's hot or, because she doesn't talk directly.
Well, I think it's...
She just seems so meek that he doesn't...
Yeah.
He convinces himself not to fear her, because he does initially.
But then everyone just comes in and starts going like, "Hey, the time machine, time machine."
Yeah, I think it's more that everyone else doesn't fear her.
Yeah.
That he's kind of strung along with their willingness to have her around, but he's kind of we really shouldn't. I just don't think any of them really think the conspiracy is a big deal. They're just thinking, "Oh, science, cool, we're breaking new ground. This is fun," and he's like, "Yeah, but." But what if they kill us, though?
It's such a scary show.
It is a deeply unnerving show. But it's also why I don't stick my nose in anything. I don't... if I hear there's a conspiracy going on, I'm like, good for them.
It's so what psychosis feels like, though.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in the middle of a conspiracy.
Well, and especially when you feel like you're the only one who can tell that you're in the conspiracy, and everybody else...
I figured out the truth, and now they're out to get me.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
So Mr. Brown comes back after Ocarina has been talking to his daughter, and I forget, what's the other girl's name?
Suzuha, I think?
Suzuha, whatever. Bike girl.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown comes back, and it's only Ocarina and his daughter, and so Mr. Brown is like, "I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, how dare you be alone with my daughter?
You couldn't hold back your urges or something." He says something to that effect. And he messages John Tidor, right? That's what those texts were?
Well, she explicitly tells him, "Why don't you go ask John Tidor about this?"
Mm-hmm. You know who John Tidor is, don't you?
Well, of course I know who John Tidor is.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
Do you want me to tell you? Is this a spoiler? Do you think it's a spoiler? I think the show has made it pretty fucking obvious, but...
It's Bike Girl, right?
Yeah, she is John Tidor. She's from the future, and she tells him to go talk to that guy, apropos of nothing. Yeah. I think the show, at this point, has kind of beat you over the head with it, if anything. The only thing that obfuscates it is that when he's reading the texts on the computer, there's a male voice doing the voiceover, but that's just what he thinks John Tidor sounds like. It's just his imagination of cool future man. But
cool future man.
But no, yeah, spoilers.
Is that a Mega Man character?
If you
cool
hadn't
future
figured that out, I'm sorry, but I feel like you probably had figured that out.
It's called a Robot Master.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's still characters in Mega Man. Fine, I'm sorry. Is that a Robot Master?
Oh yeah. So basically, the important part here is that John Tidor has never heard of this ability that he has to retain his memories across world lines. He's like,
but
I
John
don't know why you
Tidor
can do that.
Is aware that world lines have been jumped. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't retain his memories.
It's from the way that he describes. Okabe tells him what happened. And John Tidor says, "Okay, then we definitely jumped world lines."
Okay.
John knows that that's possible, just wouldn't have known that it had happened if not for Okabe telling her. But yeah, so basically, John Tidor says, "What you need to do, maybe because you have this ability, you can go past divergence 1%." Basically.
That's like it's kind of like the Hunger Games, but instead of districts, it's 5 different houses, and it's one's yellow, one's blue, one's green, one's black,
Harry Potter.
And they're all personality traits. So the black ones are really edgy and cool.
Oh, like Harry Potter.
No. It's not like Harry Potter because it's not like a school thing. It's society works. If you are this type of person, you get put into this place.
Everybody gets this joke. Is Divergent
is the name of the book.
/ movie series.
The movies are not very good. The books are also not very good, but I liked the books.
I don't think it's spoiler to say this because you should be able to piece it together if you're with shows like
Also,
this.
the main character in Divergent is named Beatrice, so
It's always hard for me to figure, to determine how much, because I have already seen the show, how much should I say that I know because I've seen it, and how much, like, that I think you could have deduced if you were really trying to deduce the show. Like, that's why I always ask you what you figured out. Like, like, if you think that girl is John Titor, then, okay, we can talk about it, because the show has given you more than enough reason to think so.
I know my first viewing, I, was enjoying the vibe, but I wasn't compelled enough just by them hanging out to really want to figure out the mystery.
Yeah.
Also, mysteries aren't really my thing.
Same.
I knew she was really sus, though. That's...
I was just like, what's this girl's deal? It sure is annoying that we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it was like my take the first time, but I think that it's very easy to overlook all the foreshadowing the show is doing. When you've seen the show, it's impossible to overlook. So it becomes like what you're really focused on is like, oh wow, they really were trying to let us figure this out in certain ways. But John Titor pretty explicitly says that, like, most of the time when you change world lines, it will only change like a little bit of stuff. Like, there's not much you can... It won't be that different of a world line. But if you were to do something like, say, stop someone from dying, that would be such a massive divergence that it would cross the 1% threshold.
I bet he's going to cross that threshold a lot.
I'm going to bet that he maybe already did that because we know that Kurisu died in another world line and she's alive now. So
Did he do that?
Well, we know that we're in a different enough timeline that somebody who was dead was alive. So whether he did it or not, Divergence 1%
Are we sure that Kurisu didn't just use reverse curse technique as soon as she was stabbed, and so she just started healing immediately and then unlocked her limitless 6 eyes power?
Wait, what are you referencing right
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Alright, that's it for that Steins Gate.
Oh, Meizan Ikoku. Hey, guess what? Her husband's still dead.
Yeah, so this show continues to be a very pleasantly nostalgic slice of life experience where you just kind of waft into 80s Japan and this cute little town with all this nice music and these dumb fucking idiot characters that I understand there's some people who really don't vibe with this show because the characters are assholes and kind of unlikable.
What?
I think that the characters being assholes and unlikable is what makes the show great.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Because they're assholes and unlikable in relatable ways.
Yeah, I like them.
And it's funny to watch them play off of each other, especially because, like, the main character being the worst guy also suffers constantly. So, like, if you think that his attitude is bad and should be changed, the whole show is about, like, punishing this guy for having the attitude he has until he changes.
Which I think he's working there.
Bird, do you like the characters or no?
I mean, red-haired girl is hot. I don't think she's a good person. I like the... I don't know how to describe him other than,
I like her because she's not a good person.
Yeah, that's fair.
Why isn't she a good person? I forget.
She's just kind of mean.
Well, she's just... Everyone in the house will just get what they want at the expense of one another.
Yeah.
So, like, they're constantly just, like, fucking each other over in little ways. I think in this episode is when the one guy just, like, steals his ramen.
Right. So that guy I was going to get to, he's probably my favorite of them. I can only describe him as, like, a dandy or a fop, though, because that's, like, how he like, in the English dub, he's literally just saying
Dandy
indubitably
voice,
over and
yeah.
over again.
Oh my god.
But he's also, like, a
He's a
sex
pervert. He's a total
and
pervert. He has, like, tunnels
voyeur,
throughout the house
yeah.
to see everyone naked.
Oh, I have kind of a observation is that Gravity's Rainbow is kind of iconic for how many bananas are in it, and they do some banana stuff. Gravity's Rainbow kind of started the postmodernist movement.
Did they do, like, some Lizzo
Like
type
Amsterdam
stuff in there,
banana
or-
stuff?
Oh, I mean, it is a metaphor for a penis and a rocket and a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, bananas are in this show. I don't know.
This is...
Bananas are in this show?
Oh, maybe not yet. I'm a spoiler. Oh, we're not
Have you
talking
even
about,
seen this
We're
show?
not talking about Steins Gate
Yeah,
anymore.
no, we did the gel bananas. That was a couple
I-
episodes ago.
I didn't look over what anime we were talking about.
No, we're talking about. That explains why
Yeah.
you were so curious. I was like, I didn't know you had even seen any of this show.
Nope.
No, this is the one where the main character is in love with a girl whose husband died. He found out in the last episode, and basically, he's constantly having nightmares about the fact that like he just doesn't think he's ever gonna be able to compare to her dead husband. And this whole episode just kind of keeps reinforcing it, where everybody's like, "Yeah, he was just an amazing guy. He was, he was nice. He was good looking. He was only around for like 6 months, so his memory is eternal." And yeah, our main boy is just trying to figure out like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Oh, wait, hang on. You skipped a really important scene. So at one point, I don't quite remember what happens, but like, I think, oh fuck, what's his name?
Godai is the main dude.
Godai. I think Godai throws his cup noodle at the Indubitably man, and
Yeah.
Indubitably catches it with his mouth and immediately consumes all of it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of this show is the ridiculously silly animation they do.
Oh my god, the cartoony bits are amazing.
Just like, even saying that just now, I just remember like a red-haired girl. Hey! You know, when her mouth gets
Yeah.
all fucking huge and becomes her whole face.
I think, one of the specialties of this show and Rumiko Takahashi in general is doing, like, very grounded slice of life that feels, like, lived in and believable, and, like, you kind of buy into all the characters, but then the way it expresses their emotions is, like, so over the top and cartoony that it feels hyper real, but that also just, like, communicates more. Like, it doesn't make the show feel unrealistic that, like, they do goofy, cartoony things sometimes. It just makes the situation, like the emotions of the situation, feel that much more pronounced and highlighted, you know? I definitely think Takahashi's had like a huge influence on lots of romantic comedy anime, so like some of the vibes that this show has are maybe kind of commonplace in anime, but I think because Takahashi was like just so fucking popular in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s, that, lots of people learned how to storytell from her. And to
Oh, wait, there was another one. His tongue, because he's eating the fish cake.
Oh yeah, his tongue like unrolls and like towards the camera rolls back up. It's a really weird animation.
This was a good episode for weird animation.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
I remember the plot of this episode now. Okay, so,
Booty?
huh?
What? There was a booty. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, somebody was reading pornography.
So,
There you
fucking, what's the woman's, what's her name?
Oh fuck.
The landlady.
Yeah.
The landlady gets a call from her dad, or rather her father-in-law, I believe is who he is.
Yes, it was the dead her dead husband's dad and sister.
Because her family, like, hates her for marrying that guy or something.
Oh, did that get brought up?
I
don't
think so,
remember that.
yeah. I think it's at least implied that it is
Interesting.
not great for her family, or her family doesn't approve of it.
I think that's gonna be Godai's is like repair her relationships with her
Oh,
family.
interesting. Yeah, that could
I
be
could
it.
definitely see that.
But anyway, so if you remember from the episode that they were in, Godai spent a lot of time with niece, right? Something like that, or
Yeah. So he was hanging out with the niece for a while in order to like, butter
wouldn't
up.
they be sister-in-law?
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
They did call her. I guess it's just that she probably called her auntie, but that's just like a kind of generic word in Japanese.
No. They are. It is her niece. She refers to the Soichiro as her uncle. I don't know who her dad is, but oh wait, no, her mom. Her mom is related to Soichiro because we do meet her mom. And she's like,
okay. So she's Soichiro's niece.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But she's technically not her niece, but like niece-in-law, I guess.
Sorta, yeah. So anyway, Godai spent a bunch of time with father-in-law and niece-in-law, and now niece-in-law wants Godai to be her tutor. And spoiler alert, no, she doesn't. She wants to fuck, which is very
I have to
problematic.
Say, I am the best thing about this show, the nicest thing I can say. This is one of the least pedophilic anime I've ever seen.
That is true. Godai does not go for it at all.
Godai is not interested in this little girl who is
It's just
interested in him.
So sad. You have to
Say that. It's the
statement
least
that-
pedophilic anime you've ever seen.
Well, and let me add to that, Rumiko Takahashi has written plenty of characters that were like 14 showing their tits in her manga, so it would not be past her at all. I don't think they're usually portrayed as like pedophilic because those 14-year-olds usually look like adults, but like this show, actually the characters are adults. There is a young girl who clearly is attracted to Godai, but the show is not in any way trying to sexualize her or pitch them as an actual relationship.
No, it's very
Godai
much just
is-
like he's a friend of the family and she has a crush on him. It's like baby's first crush,
He's
basically.
being very nice to her because he wants to fuck her aunt, and that's as far as it goes. Thank God. But yeah, and he's still really mean to the little boy, though.
Yeah,
Notice
the little
there.
boy's kind of an asshole, though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think Godai just sees himself in that kid and is mean to him because of it.
Would you rather I hang out or can I go to Go Club?
If you want to go to Go Club, go
You can
for
go
it.
to Go Club.
Goodbye.
Oh.
All right, we'll see you. How long is Go Club?
Well, I'll probably come back here for when Avery gets here, like an hour and a half.
Okay.
Okay. We might still be podcasting by then.
We'll
We'll
sneak
find
in.
out.
Sneak in and keep playing Go.
Anyway, I'm trying to remember what's going on in this scene.
The girl, the mom and the slut, I think that's what she is, are like, we have to get you drunk to know what's really going on in that head of yours, or something like that.
See. Yeah.
Or is it, I think they're trying to plant the seed that Godai is a pervert. I think that's what's happening here. Or at least they're trying to tease her with that. And then he almost sees a picture of Suichiro, but for some reason it's been ripped.
And the girl won't address why.
Yeah.
She just kind of blows it off. Yeah, I don't know. This episode didn't plot-wise stick out with me as much. It was just kind of vibey. We figured out where the show was going to be going at the end of the last episode, and then this episode is kind of just a logical follow-up of, like, what are all the jokes we can make about the fact that he's trying to replace her dead husband? Yeah.
Last Essa says, I will give credit to Godai. He did take his tutoring, or try to take his tutoring job seriously. I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. His tutoring basically consisted of, like, 2 seconds of trying, and then the little girl going, like, yeah, but I want to know about you. Tell me things about you.
That's true.
Because, like, at
It's
one...
not his fault, though.
Sure, I guess, but...
I have to take a pee.
A pee is being taken.
Talk more about Armored Core or something? I don't know.
Oh, geez, it's real neat. I don't know.
Whatever you want.
I'll have whatever I want. Yeah, Godai was unexpectedly professional. It's not something we'd really seen from him, but I also don't think that Godai is necessarily unprofessional. I think he's really trying. Maybe he's just got ADD or something. Armored Core. So my biggest struggle with Armored Core, I guess, is the main function of Armored Core, which is building your own mech. I like experimenting with the weapons and all that, and the legs, but I don't really see the benefit to, like, switching your heads or torsos or arms. I guess it might increase load capacity, but I don't know. I just have been avoiding that for combat options. Maybe it gives you more health, too. That would probably make more sense. I don't know. I just unlocked the PvP as well, of which I'm almost certain I would lose. So we're going to unlock some more parts before I give that a shot. Oh, and I'm also probably going to be making chicken burritos or something later tonight. Now I have to pee, so you can talk about something.
Oh. Well, I was going to say, I don't know if Godai has ADD per se. It's more just that he's, like, really distracted by his incredible desire to get laid with this woman. And, I don't know, it's interesting because it's portrayed like he's really genuinely in love with her. Like, just thinks she's great. And would do anything that he thought he had to, but doesn't know what he needs to do. So, like, all he wants to do is get laid. but like, I don't get the impression that he like really understands like even what he like. I don't know if Godai's ever had sex before. He comes off as a desperate virgin, so like, I just see it more like he's so distracted by thinking that he needs to get laid because that's what like being with a woman is, that he's causing this endless cycle of frustration for himself, when realistically, like, he'd probably be satisfied with a just like less sexually focused relationship. He just doesn't know anything except sex, so that's the only approach he can think of, but it's constantly failing, so he has to find other approaches, and that's the show. That's my take anyway. I'm gonna eat more donuts while Bird is peeing.
That's not talking.
You're taking too long. Last Esther said, relatable ways. I don't relate to the alcoholic, neglectful mother or the guy who has no respect for personal or physical boundaries. I do. I can relate to being an alcoholic. Wow. It always seems like when we get quiet, we end up getting a viewer spike. And I'm like, uh-oh. They're all gonna leave. It's not saying anything. Yep. It went from 20 to 15. Maybe it's because I opened my mouth, though. Cat, get away from the computer. I think Bird might be not taking a pee. Alright, Bird's on the way back. Let's all pretend like we were talking the whole time. Waiting for my cue. And so that's exactly how the universe was created. Oh, Bird, welcome back. I was talking unbroken the whole time that you were gone. You couldn't hear me because of the fan in the bathroom.
Hear everything you were saying. Or not saying, for that matter.
Alright. Mobile Suit Gundam.
The first one? Oh yeah, we already did the other one.
In this episode, all of the old people who are on the white base decide,
let's take hostages.
Let's be annoying.
Yeah. This is like, I get it, okay? Like, so their motivation is basically, we're old, we want to get back on Earth. You're not letting us get back on Earth. However, that doesn't mean you take hostages. I mean, and they're not being listened to, I guess. But you're in a...
They want to be told explicitly when they will be able to land on Earth, because at current time, they're not sure it's actually going to happen.
When are we going to pay the deficit off?
I think their mentality is basically like, we might die one way or another. I'd rather you dropped us on the Earth so we can stand there one last time before we die. And Bright's like, if you step off this ship, you will just die immediately. We are trying to get you to Earth. That's all we're trying to do. If we live, you'll get to be on Earth. If you don't live,
you're not going to
get to be on Earth for very long. But they're really just, it's a breakdown of communication. The old people are being ridiculous because they're so desperate. And, you know, Bright Noah doesn't... I think what he's missing as a commander is just the ability to, I don't know, lie.
Yeah,
just
that's
be like,
fair.
We'll be there in 2 days. And then if they're not there in 2 days, you say,
Well,
Sorry,
we'll be there in 2 days.
We'll be there in the next 2 days. It's how we handled the last 2 weeks of this podcast not being out. I thought it would happen last week. I said it'll be out tonight. It wasn't out that night. I said, sorry, everybody. We'll be recording it today and then releasing it tomorrow. Could not get it recorded that day. So then it was like, all right, we're just going to pass it off to the weekend. And then the weekend came. And yesterday I was like, it's going to be tonight. It wasn't last night. So, sometimes as the commander, you just got to tell people what you think is going to happen or what you're trying to make happen at the very least. You can't just say, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be possible, because then everybody just goes, all right, well, then this is a lost cause. Like, what am I supposed to hope for? What am I supposed to believe in? At least give me some kind of hope that can be dashed, as opposed to nothing. But yeah, this is an interesting moment where they hear about that Frau Bo is one of the hostages, and Amuro's just kind of like,
Nah, she isn't.
well, he's just kind of like, all right, y'all could take care of that. I'm going to go do my Gundam stuff. They're like, aren't you worried about your friend? And he's like, I trust the crew. Like, I think they'll be able to handle this while I'm gone. And they kind of can. Also, there's a lot of being pissed off at Kai in this episode.
Well, Kai's a fucking asshole.
Kai is a fucking asshole. I mean, his mentality seems... It's an interesting... like push and pull between him and Amuro, because I think there's some degree he's jealous of Amuro for the fact that he's like the cool guy who gets to do the cool stuff. But at the same time, he wouldn't want to be in that position. But he also doesn't want to be in the position that he is in. He doesn't want to be the other pilot any more than Amuro wants to be a pilot. So it's kind of like Amuro has more responsibility, and is more emo about having that more responsibility, and Kai kind of sees it like, well, hey, I'm over here having to do a bunch of this shit too. You don't see me like moping around crying. And Amuro's like, no, I see you being a fucking douchebag, like, which is much worse. So yeah, they're kind of butting heads. And at some point, I believe Bright Noah slaps the shit out of Kai. Meanwhile, Char is just like desperately trying to figure out how the fuck he can stop this stupid Gundam.
Oh my god. Sorry. I hadn't caught this initially. That video is an hour long.
You're referencing something no one knows what you're talking about.
Maddox put out a newer video an hour ago.
Oh, God. That's a Maddox video.
Yes. Is Justin Wang a plagiarist and a hack, or just a plagiarist? This is coming from Maddox.
All right, enough about that. That's a different podcast. Minovsky particles. Your radars are useless because of the Minovsky particles.
I don't really explain what those are, do they? It's just
they're just like
word.
Minovsky particles. They're making our radars useless.
I think literally when they said this line, you're like, they're not going to explain what it is, but you need that screenshot because they're going to mention Minovsky particles.
Yeah. There's a Twitter I follow called Minovsky Article.
I get it.
Pretty good. Yeah, the old people are, we want to see our hometown. And Bright's like, we're literally trying to do that. And they're like, but. Minovsky particles are too dense.
Oh my god, not the Minovsky particles.
Yeah, they have a big fight again. Oh yeah, there's a lot of core fighter in this one.
Right, which at first I was not entirely clear that was the Gundam.
Yeah, I hadn't realized it was like the stomach. Like the red part in the middle of the Gundam is like the folded up core fighter. And then the top part gets like put on top of that. Yeah, here's Kai getting socked. Actually, I think he got his ass punched for being enough of a douchebag in this scene. Yeah, here we go. Here's the core fighter with the Gundam being put over it. Yeah, this is a good line where, so, you know,
no one's doing any of this with any confidence or with much confidence.
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting because I really do think that the two characters who have their heads on the most in this whole situation are Sailor Mass and Mirai Yashima. I think that's her name. The two women on the bridge who usually like keep their wits about them and just try to figure out what's going on. And like, you know, Sayla's the one telling Amuro, because Amuro, like much of the people on the ship, has had a big problem with Bright, and that Bright is not just, like, telling them what to do. And Sayla's like, none of us know what to do. None of us know what to do. We're all just trying to make something happen. I think this is a great way of, like, recognizing life in general. Like, this is not just true in war or in this situation. For the most part, no one's really doing much of anything thinking that they know what they're doing. They're just doing as much as they know, if that makes sense. Yeah, there's a big fight. The old people eventually are kind of reasonable. And yeah, basically just every time Char fights Gundam, it has even more abilities.
The AI it's gotten better. Remember, because the Gundam's got an AI,
and like it'll have just like another fucking sword, another fucking thing that it can do, and he's just like, what do I need to do? Like, how do I do? Like, Char is actually getting desperate and angry, asking his buddy Garma for help and stuff. And then yeah, Amuro, when he finds out that these old people are doing this thing, and he hears their reasoning,
he just starts like, fucking screaming at them.
He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, none of us wants to be here. None of us wants to be doing any of this. We're doing it because we have to. And, like, you guys are just, like, being entitled, where I'm out here, like, literally fucking sacrificing myself to try to help you guys, and you're being brats with, like, you're being the brat I want to be right now. And that, I'll tell you, I know this is true for me. I don't know if this is, like, a universal truth, but I think that what makes, like, the type of person I get the most upset at is somebody who's doing something I would stop myself from doing. Like, something that, like, instinctively or deep down inside, like, some part of me is like, oh, I want to do that, but, like, you can't. So how dare you do that, you know? I think that's, like, what makes people the most upset. Anyway. That was Gundam. It was alright. Speed Racer. Can you explain what the hell happened in the Speed Racer episode?
So it starts off with...
This is the Mammoth Car! Part 1. Sorry, I just remembered it was the Mammoth Car episode.
Hey, Trixie.
Yeah.
What are your opinions on Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury? Well, I think it's really, really good.
Hey, that's not the same type of statement. I said it's
it's the same sentiment, though. You asked me to start explaining something, and then you yelled over me explaining it. So anyway, Speed is in this race. It's I don't remember the name of it, but basically the conceit of the race is any car of any kind can enter. Sparky is, I don't know, sick or something, and so Sparky can't be Speed's assistant, and so Trixie's going to do it. And then Pops Racer hears about this and is like, I'm gonna do it. And then Pops Racer like throws out his back or something.
There's actually a whole scene of Sparky and Trixie fighting over who gets to ride shotgun in this race, and she's not
giving it up.
Not giving it up. She's like, fuck you with your sexism, I can do it. Here's the Mammoth car. It's really more of a train.
No, it's a car.
There's like a heist going on.
So I'll explain that part of it, because it's a little confusing. A lot of gold has been stolen from the country that they are in, and the authorities are concerned that someone is going to try to use the race to smuggle the gold out of the country.
Right.
Which is the case. That is what's happening. I don't know why you would think it was any other car than the giant one that looks like a train and is obviously being driven by mobsters. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's, I think, so we haven't watched any of the dub where he's introduced, but I believe in the dub his name is Inspector Detector. He's got like a regular name in the Japanese dub of just like Inspector Kenjaku or something like that.
This guy, right?
Yeah. But so Inspector Detector is going around inspecting all the cars. They get to the fucking Mammoth car, and then they walk through the Mammoth car, and they just kind of get rushed through it.
Yeah, and I think the The key of this scene is that they keep dropping technical specs on him the whole time he's walking through, and he doesn't know what any of it means. So
he's just looking for gold.
And he's just like, I don't know. They told me a bunch of shit I don't understand, but I guess they're fine.
Detective Rokugo.
So then Sparky is just trying to like check out and inspect the.
Well, because he's
car.
he's nutting himself over this thing. And the driver finds Sparky and just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, this guy drags Sparky off into a warehouse and beats him with a wrench in such a way that you're like...
He literally just
dead.
wanted to know what the car was about.
That guy just died. He just got taken off screen and brained. Like, if this was a film and not a serial TV show, that character would be dead. It's a little wild.
I'm only happy with a rand.
Leave you on that for a while. There's Racer X in the crowd. Here's the mammoth car just dumb. There's a lot of shots.
A lot of shots of the mammoth car just being fucking huge. And I like it. I love it. It's fun. This is probably the episode or series of episodes that I remember the most from my childhood of watching Speed Racer.
Probably because there are 85 shots of the mammoth car being just big, and there's lots of it going across the screen too. Like they reuse this animation of like the train cars going by the screen. Racer X finds Sparky alive, so that's nice. Oh, here's Speed just plunging.
Oh yeah,
cliff.
he does do that, doesn't he?
I think he's doing this on purpose, right? Like,
yeah,
he's trying.
The mammoth car was gonna like run him off the road, and so he just starts using his all-terrain wheels. You know?
Yeah.
This show's so fucking silly.
It's very manic. Here's just like a shot of the train going by. I keep calling it a train because that's what it feels like. So here's where they have a quick pit stop, and hey, why are they painting the red
Well, what
on
happens
the train?
specifically is they like run the mammoth car into rocks or a divider or something, and it gets scratched up, and it's like, hey, that looks like gold. That's kind of... You sure that's car? No, and you know, they take a moment to go,
It's Gizmo.
huh, weird that they're just repairing so
I
quickly.
feel like this is the best shot of Gizmo we've gotten.
I don't think so. I think we've gotten pretty much the same shot, but without the camera.
I see. So now they've realized, the mobsters have realized that Speed is investigating them. And so they once more send about this fucking
A bunch
shot.
of people out on... Oh my god, Sparky.
Sparky's so haunted.
Yeah.
This poor kid got his ass fucking beat.
It is... Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, that's such a funny, sad but funny screen cap. The Mach 5 took out the biker gang like a bunch of clowns. Idiot, if I tell you to get me a sandwich, you give me a sandwich.
I've...
That's
That was a really funny screenshot.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
All right, so now...
Oh my god!
yeah, so
that's
the vehicle's like encircling him, and Speed's like, oh, what I've got to do is... Or no, I think he cuts off the tire first,
vehicle
right?
is encircling.
He cuts off the tire first, and then this happens, I think. I could be wrong. But anyway, the vehicle is encircling him, and Speed's like, oh, what I've got to do is match speeds with the vehicle, and then just go a little bit faster and get out the gap. And I do believe he is successful.
The mammoth train is behaving like a centipede on wheels in this shot.
No, it's like, you know in, like, old Western movies when, like, the wagon train starts circling? Yeah. It's got the same sense of dread as that, too. And then, is this the ending shot? I feel like this might be the ending shot of just this, yeah. Wait, what the fuck? That was the campground.
Menacing
Why do you have a picture of the campground?
I just took, like, all the pictures that were on your phone. Of which there were interspersed,
I guess we'll see some
Screen
campground stuff then.
And, we're almost at Mushoku Tensei. This is gonna be a nightmare.
It's gonna be a nightmare when you start
Hey,
seeing
look,
selfies.
this is the,
That's Sand Hollow. That's with the smoke and
smoke.
everything.
Yeah.
So, like, when it wasn't smoky, you could see way far
this
beyond
guy's
that.
supposed to be blue.
Yeah. It was
The
very
day
crazy.
before it was blue.
There's a video. There's the sun. The sun looked so cool throughout the day with the smoke. Like, especially, I like that picture a lot because it reflects off the water, and I think that is so pretty. There's a spider in that one.
Oh yeah, there was like this crazy huge spider. Right.
There were a lot of crazy huge spiders at that campground. Not a fan.
Yeah, there we go. You can see it in this picture. Don't worry, there's only like 10 of these before we're back into anime. I promise. I just took a lot of pictures of this sun with the spider, okay? I really wanted to get
cool
the right
picture.
shot, alright? Look. Sometimes there we go.
That's the good one,
That's the
yeah.
shot. That's the fucking piece de resist. Or whatever the fuck.
Pièce de résistance.
Oh my god, how many of these are there actually? Oh, that's like a video clip. Yeah, alright. Sorry, arachnophobes. Okay, there we go.
It's insanely
Jesus
epic with the spider there. Oh. Whoever said that is cringe.
Okay, it's time. It's time to talk about. I
we
need
here?
a second. I need like a moment with
Okay.
myself.
Finish your beer.
Yeah, let me go.
There's right there. isn't
I
it?
want you to. Is that one mine?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's 2 here and there's 1 there. I'm just gonna finish all of them then.
No, I'll take it.
Hey, Priscilla, shout out for being so good.
Do you want to like introduce what's happening at the start of this episode so I can like pace around for a second and get my blood
Give me 1 second.
pumping?
Get your blood pumping. Jesus.
I just I'm feeling too good right now to really dig into this with the rage and fervor that I feel it deserves. You know, I talked about a bunch of anime I like just now, which for Mercury I'm kind of iffy on, but you know, I liked all those other shows that we talked about, I think.
Okay, let's see if I remember what's happening here. This is Rudius talking, right? Oh, okay. So actually, I will say, before we start shitting on this, the way these 2 episodes parallel themselves is very cute. So this first one, it's going to be starting off with Rudius as a day and doing, like, you know, what he does. Because, again, he's not, like, going to classes or anything. It's not that kind of school. So he just gets up, and I think he just runs around town. Because in the next episode, it will explain that is also what Fitz does when they get out of bed. Is just run around town until they can't anymore. I don't remember if it was in this episode or the last episode, but it is revealed that Zenoba, the guy that Rakshi was the court sorcerer or something like that, trying to teach a kid magic. This guy was the brother of her student. He is incredibly physically strong, and I don't think he knows how to use magic. So he's here at this school too. Rudius is upset. As you should be. This guy's... I like, genuinely, when this guy showed back up again, I was like, do we need more of him? He's not that interesting. He's not intriguing. He's not
already
fun.
the worst thing about the show in the 2nd season. Now he's come back to be the worst thing about the show again. Continue, please.
Yeah, I don't know. This guy sucks. I mean, like...
But it says he's begging Rudius to teach him figure making.
Yeah, so the reason fucking Zenoba regards Rudius as a great teacher and everything is that when Rudius was imprisoned in in Zenoba's castle, Rudius just kept making figurines, or... No, that's not what it was. Rudius had made a figurine of Roxy. I think it was Roxy, I could be wrong. He had sold it or something, and then it made its way to Roxy's student, or no, it made its way to Zenoba. And Zenoba just really, really appreciated it and was like, I wish I could make this, but I'm just too strong.
Well, when he found out that Rudius had made it, that was what made him worship Rudius.
Yeah.
Now he wants to learn how to do it himself.
But he can't.
He can't because he is too strong.
So, yeah, here I warmed this. I don't...
They're flirting.
I'm still really annoyed that Fitz doesn't just go, hey, I'm your childhood friend Shilfy. Remember me? Remember how we've been looking each other for the entirety of this show? That'd be nice, you know? I'd like that to advance. And, there are always going to be, like, defenders of, well, she's just trying to protect her identity so that the princess doesn't suffer any ill consequences from her revealing that. It's like, Rudius is not going to do anything like that. I mean, like, whatever. Rudius buys slaves and stuff like that, but he doesn't really out people like that.
The dorm allows servants and slaves as long as you get permission.
And so here we are. This is a bad episode.
Hold on. We have to get through all the homoeroticism first.
Oh, right. So Rudius likes Fitz, doesn't know why he likes Fitz, thinks that Fitz's hands are soft. I mean, he's just saying the same stuff he said about Shelfie at some point.
I made it to the screen cap.
So, yeah. Zenoba cannot use magic well enough to make the figurines, and so... I don't remember who suggests it initially. It's probably...
Fitz.
Is it Fitz? Okay, so Fitz just goes, why don't you just, go to a slave market, That guy's rich.
Fucking show sucks.
Alright, I think I've done my talking. I'm just gonna sit here for about an hour, I think, now.
I can't believe I let myself get tricked into watching Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah, me neither. I told you we shouldn't.
It was blinded by the views.
Blinded by the views.
Look, this show, when it first came out, I regarded as, just another trash isekai, bunch of dumb, perverted garbage, doesn't really make any sense, bad dramatic pacing. Hated the first 7 episodes back when I watched them for content. Over the years, this show was talked up to high heaven. It was put on this pedestal, treated like this was the best isekai. Somehow, even though 7 shows nearly identical to this come out every season.
I saw someone say something to the effect
one.
of, there's too many isekais. We should really just focus on original stories, but Mushoku Tensei is okay. No. Slime is the only good isekai I've ever seen. There's even that gets tiring.
There's a few good ones. Slime is definitely one of the ones that took influence from Mushoku Tensei, and this is a big thing I need to get out of the way right now, because there's going to be people who love this show, who are going to see this podcast totally in a void. I have videos about Mushoku Tensei going back to 2022, I think? No, 2021. Maybe it was early last year. I don't remember. I have these videos where I talked about what I think makes the show good, what I think makes it popular, and also how influential the original work really is. Because a lot of people regard Mushoku Tensei as the original. It was one of the first isekai, one of the first rebirth isekai. And that
Armored Core 6 is better than anal cool sex.
No,
Thank you at Skinny Tuna for
can't
that
be
tweet.
True. Mushoku Tensei was earlier. People have a misconception because of the fact that the anime is newer and the book is older, and so when people are told, oh, the book came out 8 years ago, then they think, oh, it's older than all these isekai, it's older than the trends. But it's not older than isekai or older than the trends. If you, and I broke it down in my video, yes, Mushoku Tensei is very influential, and yes, a lot of stories that were directly influenced by it were adapted to anime first, and that makes it feel more trite than it might have had it, come out first. The funny thing is that most of the people who will, put up that defense did not read Mushoku Tensei first. They are just excusing the fact that they like it by saying, oh, well, you can't say that this stuff is tropey because it invented those tropes. Well, even if that were true, it wouldn't make it any less tropey. It just means that it did it first. But, first of all, if I don't like the tropes, I wouldn't have liked them the first time I saw them. I wouldn't have, if this show literally invented everything it was doing, it would be just as bad as if it were, if all of this was copied and trite and stuff that I've seen elsewhere. It's not just because I've seen all the shows that are influenced by this that I think it is incredibly fucking trite and cliche.
I haven't even seen all of the shows that are based on this. I think it's just a dog shit show. And I had even come around on the first season of it, but then it just really fumbled. Like, it's just
falling
boring.
the fuck apart.
Someone had said, I don't know if it was our Discord or wherever, but you told me about this. Someone said it's going to get a lot more slice of life from here on out.
Yeah.
That is the worst possible direction
Yeah.
this could be heading.
Well, that's the thing. The show started off slice of lifey. It started off with like 8 episodes of the main character just kind of growing up, coping with his, sexual malfunction, I guess, and his inability to go outside, his hikikomori nature, like all these problems he had in his past life that he's trying to work through and become a better person now that he's in a new world. And initially, I didn't enjoy the show because I didn't like the character. I didn't want to have to see this character's story. I don't care about him becoming a better person or whatever. The story is not interesting. In like episode 9 of season 1, Rudius and Eris like get thrown off across the globe, and it becomes an action-adventure show where they meet Rugier, the green-haired badass dude with a spear.
Who I had forgotten existed until the next episode.
Could have easily forgotten he existed because he hasn't showed up at all in this season, but he was by far the best part of the show. Like, to me, if you were to say, like, what made Mushoku Tensei ever good, it was introducing Rugier, introducing the conflicts that he was having with Rudius, over morals and like just the different outlooks they had on the world they were inhabiting, and the fact that it was like a serial adventure series where both Rudius and her name was Eris, right?
Yeah.
They were kind of like growing together, and they had some cute moments, and like, I don't know, I didn't love season 2. The show to me has at best ever been a light 7. Like, that's the height of the show, has been like a light 7. But it was fine. It was watchable. It had stuff going on. And like, when you got later into season 2 and you have that whole scene where basically Rudius just gets fucking murked by the dragon god, or a guy working for the dragon god or something, and then you find out that like the human god is in this conflict with these other gods, and it feels like it's opening up this like,
and then
big,
we
epic
didn't
story.
hear anything about it. I had completely forgotten that happened too. This
Yeah.
show and manga suck. I know where this story is going, and I would spoil it if all of you Mushoku Tensei fanboys weren't the worst people on Earth, and I had to hear a bunch of shit about it.
Well, most of them probably know the spoilers anyways, because they've read the fucking novels.
Yeah, but, like, the 5 people that don't are gonna go, well, you really shouldn't talk about spoilers without saying you're talking about spoilers.
Sure.
Mushoku Tensei is the worst show. It's
very
not good.
bad. It's very bad, especially this season has just been
I mean,
unrelenting. And this is exactly the same experience I had with ReZero, where like I watched that show in 2015.
oh,
when it came
M&M
out.
said, spoil it, bird, we don't care. Hell yeah. Okay, right, so this show is gonna go towards Rudius...
One person's permission was all it was.
Well, M&M is... he's a real one. This
I don't
show...
know their
Oh, they're a real one. Whatever. This show, I don't know how necessarily it gets there, but in the next episode it will be hinted at, goes to Rudius starting and running a religion and being married to Eris, Shilfi, and Rakshi all at the same time, and if I remember correctly, they are the 3 gods of his religion. It is a little alluded to in the next episode when Rakshi is referred to, or he refers to Rakshi as like the goddess of fertility or something, but like, holy fucking shit, dude. This I think the biggest reason I hate this show so much, and it's not uncommon in anime necessarily, but this show does it so badly. This show is just a power fantasy for the person making it. Like, it's just what he wishes his life was like.
Yeah.
And it, like, stop making manga and go get 3 wives. Like, you can't do both. You can get 3 wives in the real world if you try hard
made
enough.
him want to watch it more. I mean, I will say
that is how I felt about it too.
It having, if he really marries 3 women, that does sound like the best thing about the story.
It is literally, yeah. No, it is a positive for me. It's great.
Yeah,
like because
the road we're taking to get there is just
fucking boring.
God.
I'm glad they
awful.
time skipped us a little bit, so he's kind of an adult-ish now, but not really, and he's still like. Is he going to have the 35-year-old voice in his head the whole time, or is he going to get, like, a regular voice eventually?
The show has really, like, again, this was an action-adventure show for all of Season 2, and the first 4 episodes of Season, or, I keep calling it Season 2, Cour 2, the fucking autistics who love this show.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Be nice to the autistics.
I love autistic people, but the ones who like this show, who are like, I said season 3 recently, and someone was like, "What do you mean season 3?"
Real quick,
This is season 2. I'm like, "What do you think I mean?"
Real quick, just because someone said the religion thing is just Roxy, it's not. The goddess of war is Eris, the goddess of wisdom is Roxy, and the goddess of love is Sylphie. The divine artifacts of this religion are Roxy's panties, a wooden sword that Eris had, and stained bed sheets from the first time Sylphie had sex. Please don't try to correct me on spoilers if you have not spoiled this show for yourself.
The God, I'm trying to figure out where to start.
How would you guys feel if we dropped this show after this season? I'm just going to float that out there because it's what I would like to do. I understand that it's fun to talk about.
I don't know if I can continue this show after this season, unless people really want to hear me scream about it. Because that's the thing. Most anime like this, I would have dropped a long time ago. Do I think this is the worst anime that exists?
No.
Obviously not. But every once in a while, when a show that's really bad is popular enough, I feel like I have to figure out what's going on here. Like, what is special about this? Is it actually worth watching? And often the answer is no. I mentioned ReZero earlier, and like that was a show where initially I really didn't like the first season. Then I rewatched it. I came around on it because I was really trying to like appreciate what's good about it. And then the second season came out, and it just became insufferable, and it was the hardest thing to watch. And this show has done the exact same thing. The plot has ground to a total halt. It feels like, with both of those stories, it feels like initially the author was trying to create like something kind of tight and dramatic, and then at some point they realized they wanted the story to go on for a really long time, and so they were just going to like settle into nothing, like just have characters sitting around trading niceties, doing dumb little comedy sketches. Like, the show is turning into Konosuba, but it's not funny. So it's just a train wreck. It's just so fucking boring and hard to watch, and everything that happens is insipid and gross and weird and just like, yeah, the show is an escapist power fantasy, but it doesn't give me anything I want. Like, nothing. If it's an escapist power fantasy, why is it also about trying to fix your erectile dysfunction? If it's an escapist power fantasy, why is it also about being like on the road to recovery from having been a bad person? But like the show's idea of recovery is bad in and of. It's like you can't have a show where the theme is I'm going to be a good person, and then from an author who doesn't know what a good person would do. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
This whole episode is about Rudius hiring a child slave.
Hiring?
Sorry.
That's not how it
Buying.
works.
This whole episode is about Rudius buying a child slave to help teach figure-making magic to a guy that won't stop clinging to him. And so is the escapist fantasy that you get to own a lolly slave? Beast? Dwarf?
She's a
dwarf
dwarf.
girl? Little dwarf lolly slave?
This show's not good.
So there's been a lot of talk about the themes of slavery in isekai anime. Because obviously slavery has been a thing for a lot of human history. A lot of these things are historical based on some. They're trying to be like Middle Ages or whatever. So some of them try to be a little gritty, a little realistic, throw a little slavery in there, you know? The Rising of the Shield Hero is the first story I think of when I think of the main character buys a slave in an isekai fantasy. That light novel series started like less than a year after Mushoku Tensei. I have almost no doubt in my mind that the slave purchasing in this show was inspired by that one. because it happens really early into Shield Hero. It happens a decent amount into Mushoku Tensei. I'm fairly certain Shield Hero would have been out by the time the author got to this point in the story. It feels very bandwagony because this show has never even fucking mentioned slaves until this point. It's never come up. We haven't seen slaves. Nobody's owned a slave. We never had a slave character show up. Maybe it's come up. Maybe Ghislaine was a slave or something at some point. I can't.
No.
I don't think slavery's ever been brought up.
No, it has. The when he goes to Eris's house, they have all the dog people.
They have dog people slaves.
Yeah, they have beast men or beast girls.
They explicitly said they were slaves and
Yes.
not servants.
Yes, they
okay, so there have been slaves.
Wow, this show
It just never came up as a part of the
because
theming.
because I was corrected incorrectly about
Yeah.
where this show goes.
Yeah.
I've now completely spoiled it for myself, full on.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way I did when I read all of the spoilers of Oshinoko, which are, wow, this seems really cool and a story I would totally be interested in, and I'm sure it's going to be handled terribly.
Yeah. Execution is everything. The Beastmen children were also trafficked in Core 2. I do remember the trafficking.
It is
I do remember
strangely
that.
rare and a relief when an isekai fantasy protagonist actually frees the slave instead of participating in the trade. He's literally participating in the slave trade in this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a defense of Rudius, but
No, I don't think so.
Sure, I've seen this defense a couple times. He talks about how he could just kill her, and that would be better for her, and that makes him a good person.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
And
The defense of the people who defend this, I haven't even gotten to that. The people who defend this are fucking insane. But I have to explain why it's bad. I think first for the people who don't understand. Oh my god, we're going to be covering Vinland Saga on the We Read Manga podcast, and Vinland Saga is very heavily about the theme of slavery and freedom, about how
Zero Suit Game, he thought about killing her. Yes, there's a 2-minute
Oh my
scene
God, we'll
where
get
he's
there.
just monologuing about how, even if I don't buy her, she looks so depressed, and I could just kill her to take her out of her slavery. 'cause
thought
I
about
can't
killing
free
you
her.
today. Premeditated murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in Vinland Saga, in the second or third chapter, the main character's dad finds an escaped slave dying in the snow who is just desperately trying to get away. And the main character's dad buys this slave off of the guy who owns him, who's a real douchebag who thinks that chains are the only thing that brings out a man's true potential. It's just an evil asshole. The dad buys the dying slave off of this man just so that he can die free. Now that is an incredible show of character. That's a character that you go, wow, what an amazing guy. He cares so much about human life and freedom that even though he knew this guy was going to die, he still gave up 6 goats or whatever to buy him off this dude just to let him be free because he's so against slavery. And you know that this is what the show is going to be about. At its core theme, it's about the desire to die, to live and die free, to get away from the bonds of everything that... So, Rising of the Shield Hero. In that show, the main character shows up in an alternate world and immediately gets falsely accused of rape, and basically there's a conspiracy against him by everybody in the kingdom. And in Shield Hero, it's basically made clear explicitly everyone in this world sucks. The main character is just a regular dude trapped in trying to be a hero in this awful world. And he ends up buying a slave kind of not out of desire to do so. It's more out of necessity, and he feels really bad, and he has a lot of thoughts about the situation. And the girl, it is a little cute fox girl or whatever who grows up to be 15 in the span of an episode or something so that she can be dateable. I'm not saying that it's not cringe. It is incredibly cringe, Shield Hero. But it had, at the very least, a sense of solemnity. A sense of slavery's bad.
Okay.
It's not a good thing. that you can buy a slave. In this show,
It's like a convenience.
It's so fucking casual. It just comes, they're just having a conversation, and they're like, hey, have you considered a slave? And he's like, oh, you know what? I hadn't even, that's a pretty good, what if I did go buy a slave? And so here he is just smiling and like, I'll check with Zenoba and we'll visit the slave market during the next month. Let's go. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to go on a little slave buying date. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is going on? This guy's just a regular Japanese citizen. He's like a 35-year-old Japanese dude. Did he ever raise any moral questions about the slavery in previous? I mean, obviously he was anti-trafficking. I think he would probably prefer there weren't slaves. He just doesn't feel any guilt about going out and buying. He's just excited. He's just excited about it. And like you said, this show is mostly an escapist power fantasy. So this is the fantasy. I get to own Lolly Slave.
He's not even the owner.
Oh, is it technically
Zenoba's slave? Yeah. Pour your misery down. Pour your misery down.
As Amy talks, Annie says, in Vinland Saga, it is like central to the theme of the story that it's about slavery. And this, it's literally just some side plot. It's just thrown in. Hey. And for the dumbest reason. This guy, so let's break it down again. His understudy, who's a guy he doesn't like and doesn't really want around, is bothering him about helping me learn how to make figurines like you. I'm too strong and also I don't know any magic. Rudius, instead of finding someone who knows magic and hiring them to teach him magic, he buys a child slave.
Well, because
so he can teach the slave magic.
Hang on. It is explained. Zenoba just doesn't have that much mana. He can't use magic to the effect that is necessary to make the statues. And so, the reason they're getting a slave is because you can get a slave that's young so that you can build up their mana pool early,
Right.
like Rudius did with magic.
Yeah. So,
I hate this show.
the reason that they choose a child is, we can groom a child.
For your misery.
That's the logic. That's the logic. Oh my god. There's so many sound bites from this episode I know I'm going to regret. Look at this expression. This is the slave buying face of Rudius.
I've never bought a slave before, so let's start by browsing. And I hadn't really minded the idea that they were going to buy a slave.
Until he shows up with his coat over his arm like he's at the mall.
Yes, and he's having a day of it. And it's like, dude, you know it's bad. You're not even
Here's the slaves, meanwhile. Just sad.
Oh my god.
Falling apart.
Slavery is saddening? Holy shit.
Dying.
I never would have guessed.
And the whole scene, they're just kind of looking at him like pieces of,
depressing.
literally pieces of meat. No, Fitz looks at, there's two slaves standing there, a man and a woman, and she says I didn't know they got this big. And I don't know if she's referring to the tits or cock, or Rudius takes it that way. He thinks she's talking about sex organs, and he's just thinking haha, but she doesn't know because she's a virgin unlike me, or he doesn't know because he's a virgin unlike me who's totally been laid. And it's just why is this the conversation that's happening in the fucking slave store? Not oh wow, look at these people, this condition really sucks, maybe this whole institution is worth thinking about the negative aspects. These people don't look like they're okay. No. Fitz is thinking, wow, they sure are big.
Do you think that Rudius and Fitz and Zenoba are the kind of people who are only happy when it rains?
They might be.
Are they only happy when it's complicated? Because I don't think they are. I think they prefer it to just be easy. They're not trying to make social changes.
That's true.
Though I would guarantee, I'm not sure exactly everything Rudius does with his religion. They're going to like try to make him the best person ever after he starts his religion. Actually, that's interesting. I wonder how influenced Kusomega, not Kusomega, fucking
What?
Kamikatsu
Kamikatsu.
is by the whole starting a religion thing.
I thought of that too as soon as you mentioned it. I was like, I bet that's where Kamikatsu got the idea. Here's, Sylphie being like or I don't know. I don't know if upset's the word. She's just a little concerned that Rudius has experience that wasn't with her. They're still in the slave market. This is still happening. We need someone magically gifted and naturally skilled with their hands, so let's pick a dwarf.
Naturally skilled
I
with
think
their
you should
hands.
pick a child who doesn't know any magic yet, so you can groom them. Starting to cast by 5 or so does wonders for your mana capacity. Oh, that explains why I had so much mana. So here's him sitting with the slave trader, some turban-wearing guy, because that's not racist.
It's a turban.
Sitting, the one guy in the whole show with a turban is a slave trader. I mean, they're sitting in... the room looks like a dungeon because, it's fantasy, but, this is a used car dealership, or, a phone... This whole scene has the energy of going to replace your iPhone. Going to the Verizon store and being like, I need a new phone. That is the exact level of conversation they are having about purchasing a slave in this episode. A 6-year-old at that. So here she is. They pull her out, and she looks like she wants to die. Sylphie even, heals her a little bit at the start because she's in such bad shape. And as he's talking to her, there's a moment where she doesn't respond to something he asks, and the guy's about to whip her, and he just kind of raises a hand don't do that, I got this, don't worry, you don't have to beat this child anymore, I've got it. She has the hopeless look of someone who longs for death. The look in her eyes takes me back. My eyes used to be the same way. What the So, it's not enough that he's buying a slave for personal convenience, but now he's projecting onto the slave and thinking of how his struggle is so similar to hers. Yes, my dead-in-the-eyes expression at having been made fun of in high school and then locking myself in a room masturbating to visual novels for the next 20 years is totally just like what this 6-year-old slave that wants to die is experiencing. So fucking relatable. Back then, I wished I was just dead. Maybe she wishes she was just dead. Hey, little girl, do you wish you were just dead? I could just kill you.
I'm only happy when I'm dead.
Isn't he happy he lived, though?
I was just being funny.
He didn't think, maybe she, like me, deserves a second chance. He thought, oh, let me put you out of your misery. That's what I would have wanted. But you're here now. So he's like, I'll just kill you if you want. Puts his fucking hand around her neck. Literally going to strangle this child. Maybe he's going to use a magic spell to decapitate her or something. He's got his hand around her neck.
Kinky.
Sure, I could buy her and give her a job right now, but I've been through enough to know that it wouldn't be salvation. So I'm just going to let the 6-year-old choose death.
Well, the 6-year-old chooses them, ultimately.
She
right?
does not choose death, but why was that an option he was levying to the child? Hey kid, you want to die? I can help you die. I might as well put her out of her misery.
Boy.
I don't want to die, she says. And he's like, well, it doesn't have to be I want to live. I don't want to die is good enough. Fuck you, dude. Fuck. He's thinking about semantics in this moment of her statement. Oh, man. And here they fed her and she's, she'll I guess she'll be fine. She'll be taken care of now. She'll be all right. So this is where you get into the people who defend the show. Well, slavery is a normal concept in the context of the world, so, of course he would buy slaves. He's not from the world.
I mean, he is from the world.
He's not from this world. He should have the morals of a Japanese person. Obviously, his morals are pretty damaged. He's not really a regular member of society, so I'm not too surprised that he's going to take actions that are maybe outside the realm of what would be considered normal.
I have a question. Do you think that Redo of Healer is a better show than this?
I've never seen Redo of Healer.
Me neither.
So I cannot
But
comment.
I've only heard much worse things about it.
Well, and that show just wears its like evil on its sleeve. Like it's a rape revenge fantasy. Like it's not trying to be... This is supposed to be a show about a guy who's getting better. About a guy who, like, in his past life was a piece of shit, but now he's got a chance to be better. And, like, I know it's supposed to be slow growth, but this is really just treated like a big positive. Like, hey, whatever, he got this slave girl, and, she was miserable and on death's door anyway, so it's good. It's like, no, it's not...
Everyone's saying Redo of Healer is 1 out of 10 from start to finish. It's so much worse.
It's a made-up story. So this is a funny, weird thing. There were some people who were defending this because they're like, how dare you ascribe morals to fantasy? I don't, but I do think it says something about you, whatever you fantasize about. And it probably informs the way that you behave in other aspects of your life, depending on what you fantasize about.
Oh my god. I fantasize about being stepped on by women. And that happens to me.
It may be that the anime with the themes of, like, becoming a better person has to be written by someone who knows how to be a better person. Like, somebody who understands... Like, part of being a functional member of society is like making a deliberate choice to not be an indulgent weirdo. And so to make a show where simultaneous it's a having your cake and eating it too situation, like Oshi no Ko. It's like we want to keep all the fetishistic stuff that is enticing and makes otaku like otaku media. But the story is supposed to be about how you're not being a creep otaku, how you're totally a good guy now.
Someone in the chat said, Mushoku Tensei isn't explicitly a redemption arc, and you're wrong. It actually is.
Very explicitly a redemption arc.
The show opens with a 35-year-old NEET dying by saving children and realizing, oh, I've wasted all of my life. I need to, if only I could do it better. And then he gets another life and he's like, I'm going to do it better. So if you think it's not explicitly about being a better person.
He very much says in episode 2, like, that this is the purpose of the show. Is like the second episode was entirely about him crossing the threshold of leaving his house. Like, in his past life, he'd been so traumatized he wouldn't leave. Now he can leave. And then he has to work on the sex angle. He doesn't really understand boundaries. He doesn't understand how to communicate with people of a different gender. But as the years go on and he has female friends, he kind of gets past that stuff. But then he gets this, this big betrayal to his ego that causes him to have this erectile dysfunction, and now we're in the erectile dysfunction arc.
Weird arc. I mean,
it's a weird arc because what it's not about him like if the key to fixing his erectile dysfunction somehow was being a better person, we'd still be in the same show. But like,
I'll tell you right now, and I don't know this necessarily. The key to him fixing his ED is Shilfiette saying, "Hey, I'm Shilfiette."
yeah, no, that's frustrating in and of itself. I guess we'll get to that next. Sylphie's so excited about their fucking slave. She's the worst. Oh yeah, they're naming her in this scene.
Well, because, dwarves don't get given names until they turn 7 or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, the next episode, she's teaching him how to make figures. Or I guess that's how the episode ends. That's right, we're going to talk about the next episode separately. Oh, no. That means I'm going to have to go back to the Mushoku Tensei headspace after we talk about Monster. This was a pretty rough episode to watch. And it's not that I'm, like, super offended on, like, a personal level. The show is fucking boring.
Yeah.
It is unfucking believably boring. Like, now it's a high school show on top of everything else. So if it wasn't bad enough that it's a fucking generic isekai power fantasy, now it's also a generic isekai fucking
Literally
high school.
everyone in the chat said, skip to the next episode and then talk about Monster.
Okay, we could do that. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom first. Bert, do you have any parting thoughts on this one?
I mean, no. I didn't like the show when you told me we were going to review it and that I had to watch the rest of the first season. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm being unfair to this show, Maybe I just wasn't in the right place to appreciate exactly what's going on in this first season. And then I got into, like, the second half of the first season and even more into this season of the show, and I'm like, no, I was right. This show's bad. It's not interesting, not entertaining. The combat is cool, I guess, but we've gotten, like, 6 episodes with combat in them, maybe. I'm just not, like, because that's the other big defense I see of this show is, well, but the combat and magic system's just so interesting and complex and entertaining us. Okay, you don't see that in the show. Almost ever. And Rudius doesn't need to say words to cast spells, so you have no fucking clue how the magic system works, aside from the fact that there are, like, levels to the spells.
Yeah, I remember people talking about how interesting the systems in this show were at some point, and I don't think they've really come up or been fucking relevant to the plot in a long while. God damn, dude, these 2 episodes, we're just gonna go into the other one, I guess, because it's almost, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that he bought a child slave in this episode, the other one would be worse. It's kind of hard to top the other, it's kind of hard to top the child slave thing, But this show is looking for a way. It's really trying.
I'm an alcoholic in honor of my father.
Okay, here we go.
That's a joke. My dad is not an alcoholic.
Was that like a tweet?
Yeah, that was a tweet. I just thought it was cute.
All right. So the next episode, it opens with
your misery. Sorry, I'll stop doing it.
Sylphie is
going through her daily routine, which is the same as Rudius's daily routine. And I only know this for sure because at the end of her explaining her daily routine, she says something to the effect of, I'm sure if Rudy was here, this is what he would be doing.
And then we see him like running through the background.
Yes, and he like runs through the, it's cute. There's the other thing too of, it time skips back, which I don't think this show has done before. And it doesn't explain that it is time skipped back to before when they really met each other, because she knows that's Rudius.
Right.
She's like wishing he was here.
Yeah, the structure is fucking stupid. They just wanted to do this little poetry. It's like they rhyme, parallelism, fucking George Lucas horse shit, where she does the same thing he did in the other episode. I really want an episode of anime to open with something happening. Like, the best possible opening to an episode.
Like in K. Actually, K is a really good example of an anime opening with something happening. Because K starts off with a full-on fucking fight between two huge factions in a really cool way, and it's very colorful and it's fun. And they explain what the fuck is going on, so you know what the fuck is going on. K is the best anime.
The episodes, 2 episodes in a row open up with like, and here's my daily routine, and I'm like, we're 3 seasons into this show! 3 seasons! This is episode 1 stuff in any other show. Any show. You establish the character's daily routine, we're set. And like sometimes you can have a time skip and reestablish the routine, but this show has done that 5 fucking times. There's a bunch of time skips. We always reset to, and here's how my lifestyle is now. I don't care, you're not interesting. Nothing you're doing is interesting. The characters are fucking around. He's doing research into teleportation to figure out how it happened, I guess, but all the information's forbidden, so he's not making any progress. It's just relationship drama with him and Sylphie, who he doesn't realize is Sylphie.
The same person who said it's not a redemption arc is arguing that it is a redemption arc, or that it is not a redemption arc. When people characterize this show as a redemption arc, they always point to the subtitle at the end of episode 1 where Rudius almost says it as verbatim proof. But people are misunderstanding the implications of get serious about living. No,
Hold on, he continues. He doesn't mean living to mean get a job, become a salaryman, be an adult, and make Abe proud.
He couldn't do any of that.
All the normies who say it, that this time around he's going to touch grass, that's it. Yeah, he's not...
So, hey, spoiler alert for all of you dumbass fuckheads who spend all of your time watching anime and not going outside. Most of life, you should just go outside and touch grass. Enjoy your life. It's not all cartoons. And, I'm sorry for calling anime cartoons. I know that's kind of a controversial thing to do.
Not really.
But they are cartoons. You're wasting your life. As much as you'd be wasting your life just sitting around watching Family Guy all of the goddamn time. Go outside. Do things. Meet people. Stop sitting around and identifying with fucking Rudius.
If you identify with Rudius, you need help that this show can't give you, is the problem. It's written by somebody who is Rudius, trying to write their way out of being Rudius without knowing how you would do that, because you are him. Like, it's an issue of if this show was... It just feels like it lacks self-awareness of, how one would be respectable or interesting. And, if other characters find themselves liking Rudius while he's being this terrible person, it just makes the show unbelievable. Again, I get that it's like an escapist fantasy, but, the fantasy is, I could still be, the same stupid douchebag I am, but, if I happen to be in the right place at the right time a few times, then people will like me, or for no reason lust after this episode really just gets honestly so much worse. I don't know. I'm trying to argue from a good faith position about a show that I don't think deserves it, especially based on this episode. Yeah, so basically Sylphie's trying to figure out what she wants from her relationship with Rudius. Thinking about him makes her horny. She's embarrassed about it. I'm not really sure why she's keeping it a secret from him. Maybe she's just testing the waters. It's a little unclear. Rudius is clearly falling for Fitz and confused because he's why is a man making me hard? All these things I'm doing with women aren't curing my ED, but why Fitz? But Fitz isn't a man, so none of this is not interesting drama. We already know it's Sylphie. We already know if she just said it, they would just fuck.
But also, this is how we know Rudius isn't straight. Because if he was straight, anything that makes him hard would be a woman. That's a joke.
So here's the child slave being taught. Alright, where this episode really starts happening, because at first they're just daily life bullshit, who cares?
The 2 Beast Girls. the niece of Ghislaine, and then there's a dog girl whose name is mentioned, but I don't remember, are bullying Zenobu. They crushed his figure.
Yes, so it turns out that at some point, the dog and cat girl broke the Roxy figure that Zenoba had been given by Rudius. Rudius is so incredibly upset about this that he's like, we need to go seek vengeance now. We must defeat this cat and dog girl. So they meet in the courtyard, they have a confrontation, it quickly escalates to violence. This is probably the most fun fight scene in the season so far, because most of it was just like nothing. But in this one, like, he stomps on the girl's tits, and that was fun. So there was like some decent animation here. But the result of this fight, this is where stuff really gets out of hand.
Who do you think goes about being isekai'd better? Rudius or the main character from Kamikatsu?
Kamikatsu.
Yeah, absolutely.
By far. Rudius is so incensed about these women having broken his figurine. That's literally all they did, by the way. That's all that happened in this scene, is that these girls broke the figurine, so he's getting his vengeance. So after beating them up, they tie them to chairs and gag them so that he can truly let them know the business. And while he's got them tied up and gagged, he's like, hey,
I'm gonna touch your boobs and see if I can fix my ED real quick.
What if I just groped you? You know, see what happens. See if it moves.
And then
So he does.
Fitz is like, what was that about? And Rudy says...
Fitz is not in the room when this happens.
Oh.
That's a little... So this is...
He mentions it to her, right?
This is nuts. He's tied up the two girls with Zenoba. They're like, you know, laying in on them like, you did this unspeakable thing by breaking my figurines. This is after he's just beaten them up, tied them up, and molested them. And he's letting them know, I did all of this because you broke my Roxy figurine, and Roxy's the most important person in the world.
She is the goddess of fertility.
So, how dare you? Then, he just sort of leaves with the girls tied up in his room to go hang out with Fritz. And while they're talking, he tells her that these girls are in the room, and Fritz is like, what? You've got girls tied up in your room? And he's like...
What's going on there?
He's like, yeah, but I didn't do anything sexual to them, you know?
grabbed their boobs.
I just touched their tits. But not in like a I wanted to fuck way. What? Why did you say any of those words? What the fuck? And Fitz is just like, okay. And then they both go to the room where the girls are tied up. The girls have pissed themselves and are starving.
That was... So I get the starving, but, like, let him use the bathroom.
They were tied up. He just left.
Where was Zenoba?
So they untied the girls, and rather than being, like, upset with their treatment, they've kind of, I guess, been tamed. Because they're beast girls.
Then they kind of become like, they call him like boss or something.
They start calling him boss and being really obedient and just like not even upset about anything that just happened. Fitz cleans their underwear and then draws these markings on their faces and says, there's a special Beastman incantation that if I say it, those will permanently tattoo on your face. And I'll do that if you don't listen to Rudius anytime in the next day.
And you got to keep that on.
Why? Why did Sylphie feel justified in helping double down on this? What is in this for her? Did she just not like them? She just anybody who pisses off Rudius is automatically my enemy. She had no problems with Rudius's reasoning or anything. Just no conversation. Just, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help you double down. Yeah, fuck these idiot girls. And then she even tells Rudius, like, yeah, the whole incantation thing's a lie. I just want to draw on their faces. It's like, wow, maybe Sylphie's just a bitch. Like, maybe she's just evil. She loves slaves. So, and then the dog and cat girl are, like, just... Like, the dog girl says something to Rudius, like, oh, and you can have my sister's tits anytime you want. I don't care, or whatever. The other girl's tits. this was just fucking, this was a lot. Again, plot? Story? Is there a story here? Does this anime have a story? What happened in these last 2 episodes? He bought a slave, and he molested a cat girl. What a riveting tale, this Mushoku Tensei. What a fucking yarn. What a
redemption arc.
What an epic redemption arc. What a fun show. What does anybody get out of this? What is the appeal of this show?
I already had a mean screed towards people who spend all their time watching anime. I don't know if I should go into the people who get anything out of this.
Oh, man. I just, there's nothing for me here. There is nothing for me here. And I thought that when I started the show, and I think it really was just Rudyard that tricked me, like the handsome
he
green
was cool.
man. He was cool.
Fun.
He was good looking. Their interactions were good. He made the show violent and fun and cool. And then as soon as he was gone, it just fucking flatlined.
M has a really good line. Is Rudy a relatable character for Mushoku Tensei fans? Because if so, I don't trust any of them. Correct.
No, that's exactly... Well, I feel that way about a lot I main
Yeah, like anyone who likes
frankly.
Oshinoko.
If
you identify with Aqua, you're wrong.
I think a lot of people project onto isekai protagonists, especially if they're portrayed as just generic otaku. Like, hey, I like anime and I don't leave my room. And the audience goes, hey, I don't like anime and I don't leave my room. We're the same, you know? And then from there, they just kind of accept whatever wacky, fun, sexy things are happening. Oh, I saw a cute cat girl. Oh, there was an action scene. Oh, remember the part where you sniffed the panties? That was funny. I don't know. I don't fucking get it.
Can we go back to a show that I want to talk about before I start just playing Armored Core again?
There's 2 more anime we have to talk about, and those are Monster and another Pokemon episode.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. I love both of those shows.
Certainly a lot more than Mushoku Tensei. I hope you all enjoyed that exorcism on my consciousness that I just
It's really been
performed.
weighing her down. Like...
Well, because I thought I'd be ranting about this. Like, we had watched that slave trading episode like days before when the podcast would have normally happened because we just had time. So yeah, it's been like most of 2 weeks. Somebody is yelling about something in this apartment complex right now. All right, it's time for Monster. So the last episode left us with being pretty fucking sure that Tenma and Anna are about to come back to her surrogate parents having been murdered along with the detective.
Oh my god! Guess what happened?
Yeah, I was expecting to actually see it happen. We don't. We just kind of, they drive back and everybody's dead. And immediately they're like, ah, fuck. And I'm a little bit torn with this show so far. I really hope that like it gets more interesting.
Well, where I see this show going from here on out is Tenma was really dumb in this episode, and he touched all of the dead bodies, and so now it's going to be Tenma on the run for murder.
That makes sense. Yeah, here he is hugging the corpse. That probably wasn't the best.
None of the moves he made were good ideas.
She immediately realizes, like, oh yeah, my brother, the monster, of course. How could I forget? I killed him.
What happened? I killed him.
I do
dead.
think it's definitely interesting that her reaction when she comes into this scene is not like being like sad over her parents, who she loved very much. It's just like, oh fuck, I know exactly what's going on. Like, ah shit, ah fuck, ah damn, he's still alive. Ah fuck, ah shit. Yeah, you know, this scene plays out kind of, I guess, how you'd expect. And then a couple cops show up, and they're like, hey, we're going to bring you guys down to the precinct with us. And they're all shook and rattled. And then as they're going, Tenma realizes, wait a minute.
Where are we going?
We're not going the way to the
right
precinct.
place.
And they're like, don't worry about it. And then he notices blood on one of their hands, and he's like, what if these are the fucking guys who killed the guys? But then they get to, like, a checkpoint, and the other cops are like, oh, it's you guys. We know you guys. And he's like, what? They know these guys, but these guys seem mad suspicious. So he just kind of freaks out, and him jumps into the river with Anna. Now, I will say, this is where the show, simultaneously, it's getting, like, a little bit more interesting, but, like, my biggest issue with this show is that it's just, it foreshadows too much. Like, it makes it kind of obvious what's about to happen sometimes. And then also what happens can be very trite. Like, it just feels very soap opera to me. There's a particular moment later in this episode that I think is really cheesy. But I don't know, it was just like, at the end of the last episode, we were like, they're definitely going to come home and everybody's going to be dead. And then that happens. And it's like, it's such a long scene of them, like, finding the bodies and reacting and all that. But none of it is unexpected. It's like, yeah, I knew they'd be dead. I knew they'd have this reaction to them being dead. I mean, aside from, I guess, it was a little surprising that Anna, like, didn't freak out over her parents being dead as much as that her brother was alive. But it just kind of feels very by the numbers. And somebody in a comment called this show a procedural, which I'm used to procedural meaning like every episode is kind of the same. Something like a NCIS or a Psych where it's like, all right, and then we're going to do another case. And like, I do think it's the sort of story that's just about like raise a question, answer it. Raise a question, answer it. Raise a few questions, answer them slowly or gradually, It's just that the answers so often feel very obvious. And again, I hope this changes. It's just like, so far they keep telling us like, and it's going to be the brother. And then it is the brother, like, oh, okay, who saw this coming, But like, it also kind of feels like this episode is the end of the establishing what the story is. Like, we're just now, I had thought we were there when we time skipped. But we weren't really there because Tenma didn't know about, what he was going to have to be doing, like chasing down this guy. This is the episode where he, like, says the name of the show. He says, like, I got to catch that monster, and it's like, all right, roll credits, we're here. Like, this is it. But yeah, so after jumping in the river with Anna, they, like, came ashore. She basically tells the story of how the whole time that her and her brother had been together, everybody who found them, like, mysteriously died. And at some point, she found out it was him when he murdered the couple from the start of the show. And so she basically told Johan, like, you need to stop. And he was like, well, then you need to kill me. So she did. This was not a bad thing for her.
No,
this was the right thing. And she's very insistent, like, Tenma, why did you save him?
So I had kind of predicted this. I had thought, though, it wasn't going to be about... I didn't think it was going to be her willingness to do it. I thought it was just going to be Johan trying to cover.
Yeah. I did think that... I knew that he was going to have told her to do it. I just didn't think that she was going to have, like, basically proposed in the first place that it should happen, like, and have been proud of it. Have been like, no, he should have stayed dead. Why did you bring him back, So she kind of, like, fucks off while Tenma is trying to look into things. Finding out that those cops are maybe real cops or maybe not. And meanwhile, the detective is trying to get in on this case because he sees some kind of pattern that might be related to what he's doing. And these people are like, oh, this shouldn't be related to you at all. And he's like, oh, yeah? Well, it seems like...
Oh, Typing Guy's back. I love the Typing Guy's back. He's probably my favorite character.
They're like, the case you're looking into and the case we're looking into happened at the same time. Couldn't be connected. And he's like, O-R-L-Y. Here he is, like, looking through the bushes.
And he finds the tie that they tied up that guy that threatened them in the last episode with.
I think the backgrounds look really good in these couple shots.
Yeah.
Really
no,
good.
Monster looks great.
So he gets back to where she was hiding, and she's not there. And
She left him sandwiches, though.
so when I say this show is trite in certain ways, like, he comes back into the room, there's sandwiches. My immediate thought, he's going to eat that and cry.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the
he did.
second I saw the bread. One of the... I think we ended up watching parts of this episode twice. Or no, I went back to get screen caps, because we originally watched it on Netflix, and then I got screen caps somewhere else. But on Netflix, like, in her letter, it literally says, eat the sandwich. I fucking thought that was hilarious. In this version, it's please eat the sandwiches and get some rest, which is not as funny. But yeah, of course, he takes a bite and immediately starts crying. It's what anime characters do. I think we've talked about it on this podcast once already. It's literally that common of a trope. Happens in Spirited Away, probably most famously. But yeah, this is what I mean when I say, like, some of it's just a little trite. It's not bad. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, you know, again, if you show me a sandwich in that shot, I'm going to think, oh, he's going to eat that and cry. And then if I see it happen, I go, yeah, okay, all right, yep, it's the thing. I brought him back to life, that monster. So yeah, I guess I appreciate the phrasing procedural in this case, just in the sense that, like, I think the show is very by the books. It's like, yeah, the obvious thing that would happen should happen, unless you don't have all the information, in which case you're going to be surprised. And, like, I'm sure there will be some surprises and some curveballs. I'm just really waiting for them, you know? I'm really waiting to have my mind blown. I'm really waiting for a moment like I didn't predict and or couldn't have seen coming based on, like, just the description of the show. This has really all felt like stuff that would be in the synopsis so far. Anything you want to add about this monster episode?
Everything that we thought was going to happen happened.
Yeah. I hope it gets crazy soon. And now it's time finally to talk about the other Pokemon episode that we watched, which was also really solid. Really fun Pokemon episode.
This is the most Pokemon-ass Pokemon episode I think this show has had.
It's definitely very classic style Pokemon episode. So the Rising Volteckers have made it to the Galar region. Woo! Galar region. They're at Gear Town, I think it's called. It's a place.
It's something like that. It's like Gear Town or
Gears.
Industry Town. They make stuff here.
It's the vibe I'm getting. Oh yeah, and also at the start of the episode, we've got Mawip just whipping up some whipped goods for everybody, making some nice fucking treats, being adorable. Mawip will be really important. Engine City is what it's called. I was confusing it with Gear City because this woman's reaction to being there is almost exactly the same as Winry Rockbell showing up to, I think it was called Gear Town in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Same energy, but she doesn't really show up again in the rest of the episode, unfortunately. What this episode is really about is, in this town, there's this French pâtissier who, I don't know if that's how you say that word, who...
Yeah, you did it right.
Seems to have some history with, his name's Murdoch, right?
Yes.
With Murdoch and Mawip.
Rush Valley.
Rush Valley, that's what it was called. Why the fuck do I remember it as Gear Town?
Because it's Gear Town.
It
the
must
whole
be another
town
game or
is
something.
devoted to them building automail.
Anyway. Yeah, Mawip tries to give this guy like a dollop of cream and he turns it down, and Mawip makes a cute sad face, and it's like, what's going on? What's the history here?
And
well, it turns out
we learn that these two used to be best friends, and it used to be an even cuter Pokemon that was not Mawip. It was just like a little dot of cream floating around.
Yeah, a little cum splatter Pokemon.
I wish you stopped calling it that.
So basically, when these two were friends, they were competitive.
They ran a
friends.
bakery together.
Yeah, and everything that the one guy did was like green, and the other guy was all pink, all like strawberry stuff. And the cream Pokemon was helping out both of them. But when it evolves into a Mawip, which can evolve into a bunch of different flavors,
it evolves into the one that benefits Murdoch's dish.
Yes, because, Murdoch's dishes will be even better with this specific Mawip. But the other guy gets all jealous of the fact that, it doesn't really help his dishes, ostensibly. And so he just keeps getting more bitter and turning away until at one point Mawhip like tries to hand him a cracker and he like slaps it out of Mawhip's hand and it makes this super sad face. You're like, no! And Murdoch's like, how could you? And he says, anybody who would, like, you can't truly say you love food if you would hurt food. And the guy's just like devastated by that comment. So that's how they stopped talking and Murdoch joined the Rising Volteckers. But basically, upon hearing the story, I think Liko and Roy challenge him to the French guy to a duel. A Pokemon battle, if you will, and it's a fun match. There's like they're tossing attacks back and forth, but as the match goes on, they just start making sweets.
That was cute. I really like that.
They start just taking all the attacks the Pokemon are doing and incorporating them, and they just end up cooking. Partly, it's like Mawhip obviously wanted this to happen and is kind of guiding it to happen, but yeah, so they all end up cooking and stuff. And it just becomes this big bake-off. They become friends again. Mawhip's all happy and gives the guy a little dollop for his fucking thingy. And that's it. It was fucking adorable. It was super cute. It was really good. Mawhip rules.
Mawhip is the best.
Good feels. Positive vibes. Great mental cleanse after the hell that was the Mushoku Tensei erectile dysfunction arc.
Well, and that's not even over yet. We're still there.
I just know that, like, for decades, people are going to be asking me, like, what's one of the most, like, frustrating, like, things you can remember from an anime? And I'm just going to be like, the fucking erectile dysfunction arc from Mushoku Tensei. I just love that that's, like, what it is. Literally, it is a whole arc of ED. Good lord.
Oh, my God.
Everything else is good, though.
We watched it.
We did it. We watched anime. Everybody, let me remind you that our bonus episodes on Bocchi the Rock, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and Keep Your Hands Off the Azoken are all available for $5 plus backers on Patreon and Backed.buy. You can find links to those in the descriptions. I will try to get all of these episodes that have been backlogged at this point edited. We're like 4 weeks behind on edited podcasts, maybe even 5. So there's a lot of that to do. I also still want to do the rest of the compilations of shows from the previous season. Maybe even make some shorts for this channel. Look, we're off work for a little bit, so some of that stuff might be possible.
Did you mention manga? We read all the manga.
Yes, we read all the manga. We will soon be launching a $15, but for sure by the time this episode is edited, there will be a $15 tier on our Patreon called We Read Manga, where twice a month we will be doing a manga podcast. We've read first volumes of Berserk, Vinland Saga, JoJo Part 7, JoJo Part 7, Land of the Lustrous, and Vagabond. And we'll be talking about all those in that podcast. So, if you're hearing this, go look at the Patreon, see if the tier exists yet, unless you're literally here in the live video or shortly thereafter. Any other housekeeping that needs to be mentioned? I'm so glad that you've all been patient with us and not beaten down the doors and demanded that we be on time. I'm really sorry we've been so late. I don't apologize for the gayness, but the lateness is a little unacceptable. So yeah, we're gonna keep a fucking closer eye on that. Thanks everybody. Anime forever! Yay, we did it. All right, goodbye.